Hello and welcome. This is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. This channel evaluates all aspects of true crime. As you are aware, videos and live streams in this genre often discuss elements of crime that may be disturbing to some viewers. If necessary, take the precautions needed to avoid these feelings. Factual information related to cases is the key to fostering rational true crime discussions. Fortunately, you will find that here. Please hit the like button only once, share the video, and subscribe if you like my content. Thank you very much for watching.
Huh? It's a house!
Troll alert, troll alert, troll alert. Yeah, there we go. Well, today is our first day of the new month, everybody. Had an earlier show and just let's see, hold on. Hardly hear anything. There we go. Yeah, so that Madeline Soto case that we did the press conference on earlier, they ended up finding her body later in the evening. So I might do another show like late this evening for other people. But yeah, I know last night was donation night and everything. But if you guys can help support the channel tonight, to get the new month started, because that's how everything's based on at the end of the month. So if you're able to help support the channel, that'd be great. Thank you. All right, so anyways, tonight's show is going to be about the, I'm just sort of shocked at how many people are just so concerned about Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funke, and oh my God, they must have had, instead of just kind of realizing that, people are different, like everybody doesn't act the same, etc. And, whoa, Jesus. That is a good start. Holy crap. Well, thanks, A Broken Scout. I hope you guys just maybe come back here at some point. That'd be pretty sweet. Yeah. Yeah, so anyways, it's just a little bit shocking. I mean, I understand people having, sort of curiosity and stuff like that, but, just it almost seems like willful hatefulness, like you don't even care that, some people just don't act the same. And then somehow, and the thing what I get is like people are curious, but then they keep going. It's like, okay, you're curious. Yeah, okay, let's just wait till trial. She'll tell the story and everything. But it's like it's almost as if there's something else nagging at you that it just seems like somehow they're part of it.
Heroes to a good start to the month.
No, they couldn't, Zozo. I just read it last night. I just explained it to you, Zozo. They were immediately sequestered and given the gag order, and they weren't allowed to talk to anybody. All right? So, anyways, innocent until proven guilty asshats. No, Bryan Kohberger is the killer, Penn Dizzy. All right, just letting you know. Bryan Kohberger is the killer. I know that you don't think so, okay? But it is. He is the killer. They can't tell the story. I mean, you think the police are going to go tell their story for them? The way they started off at the beginning, on the first press conference, that guy is really clumsy. The guy that used to give all the press conferences, he'd say stuff like, Yeah, we don't know. We don't know why, blah, 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 blah. Just creating issues, But we do know this, that law enforcement looked into everything, including the text messages they sent back and forth, if that's a true story, right? So if they did send text messages, they obviously looked at them. And you think if they saw something like, hey, did he get out of the house yet? Hey, do the... But don't you think they would have arrested them? No, they wouldn't have, Gray, because they're trying to pin it on a guy named Brent Kopaka or Kohberger to free Kopaka. Yeah, anyways, these guys are just crazy people. So anyways, what we do tonight, when I made a post the other day, there was a lot of people out there that they seem to have stories that I think people would want to listen to. So are you guys going to be calling in to tell like a story when you were scared and how you reacted? I think that'd be great. But before we get to that, though, I was going to go over these there's some articles that came out a while back. Hey, thank you, K-Me. Yeah, I don't know. Who cares if they're being transferred or anything? Bryan Kohberger is the killer in the case, everybody. That's my opinion. Anyways. So surviving Idaho murder roommates Bethany, Funke, Dylan Mortensen, what we know. It says now, this is clear back in January of last year, just a couple months after the murder. Now that one of the two survivors saw and heard, what one of the survivors saw and heard the November 13th night that 4 of the Idaho students died after Bryan Kohberger allegedly stabbed them in their beds has been revealed. Bethany, Funke, and Dylan Mortensen, the sole survivors of the bloodbath, found their friends' bodies hours after the brutal attack in their off-campus home. For the first 7 weeks of the police investigation, it was reported that they'd slept during the bloodbath. But on Thursday, a police report showed something far more chilling. Mortensen came face to face with the killer just before he slunk out the college house. Well, she didn't really come face to face, like he didn't see her, How do you know, Gray? Maybe they were friends and he... Oh, God. Whew, here we go. Floor plans show Funke and Mortensen lived on the first floor of the split-level home. They didn't. See, these guys don't even have the accurate information, So, they didn't live on the first floor. One did. Bethany Funke lived on the first floor. Bethany Funke lived, just so if you're not aware, Bethany Funke, that's the front of the house right there. She lived in this room right here, which is just below the living room. And you wouldn't really hear it anywhere near as much as Dylan Mortensen, who lived in this room right here, which is directly below Madison Mogen's room and on the same floor as Xana Kernodle's room right here. And so, there's probably a lot of... She heard everything, basically. Dylan Mortensen. And it says, police have not revealed where Funke and Mortensen were in the hours before the killing, so we know all that now. I don't know where Dylan Mortensen was. They didn't really... We know Bethany Funke was at Sigma Chi. And I don't remember exactly where she was, to be honest with you. According to a police report unsealed in court, Mortensen woke around 4 a.m. after hearing voices. She reportedly thought she heard Goncalves say, "There's someone here," and crying from Kernodle's room. But again, they didn't continue the sentence. It said, "There's someone here," but police believe that could have been Xana Kernodle as she was awake using, like it was TikTok or something like that. Right? Police never revealed the identity of the 911 caller. Right, the 911 caller was using one of the two surviving roommates' phones. It came nearly 8 hours after Mortensen reportedly saw the killer inside her home. Investigators said early on that Funke and Mortensen might be key to solving the crime and quickly ruled the two out as suspects. Police said the women were cooperative throughout the probe. Funke and Mortensen have largely remained silent since the killing. The two wrote letters to their lost friends, which were read aloud by a pastor during a December service for Kernodle. Funke wrote that victims were all gifts to the world in your own special way, and it just won't be the same without you. The two girls appeared to get matching tattoos to memorialize their four friends. They inked the initials of the victims' names MKXE on their arms, along with angel wings. Yeah, it sounds like they really hated their roommates there. I don't know, Gray. It's just to trick people to make it look like they... Okay. Why would you think that I meant the roommates were calling in? If that's really what I was saying, I'd have 800 people watching. Instead, I have a measly 208 yet again, everybody. Now let's see what somebody said. Although to many people, the roommate's behavior is difficult to understand. For her generations of college students, is not that surprising. To allege she is accomplice based on her odd behavior is not enough. This is a generation that needs safe spaces from pronouns. I mean, that's sort of true too, right? That kind of crap. All right, let's go to the next one here. So this is a year later. This is November 13th of this last year, so just a few months ago. It has been 1 year since the murder of 4 University of Idaho students in their off-campus home, with their 2 surviving roommates keeping low profile since the gruesome slayings. Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funke were both home when criminology student Bryan Kohberger allegedly snuck into the Moscow house on November 13th, 2022, and stabbed their roommates, Madison Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, to death in their beds. Mortensen, 21, even came face to face with the killer just moments after the bloody slaughter, telling authorities she saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask, walking towards the home's back exit just after 4 a.m. So through the kitchen, out the sliding glass door. The 2 women were allegedly texting each other while the murders were happening and received an onslaught of hatred online after it was revealed that no one called 911 for several hours after the quadruple slayings happened. Since then, the 2 roommates who were spared have kept to themselves. Mortensen has reportedly been isolated herself. She was seen briefly after the murders running near her parents' home, but has avoided media attention since. In the beginning weeks after those homicides, she was basically dogpiled on social media. Aren't you guys proud of yourself? Hey, be so proud of yourself for dogpiling on 2 surviving roommates who'll probably be scarred for life. This was part of the trauma that she experienced. Dylan herself had retreated from the public eye. Very few people see her. Mortensen's father reportedly told Appelman that his daughter is in trauma therapy of sorts. She's getting help from the spiritual community, the private investigator said. She's doing what she can without going into public. Funke, 21, has kept an even lower profile and now lives in Nevada. She has only been heard from when her attorneys filed a motion earlier this year to dismiss a subpoena that would force her to testify as part of murder suspect Bryan Kohberger's defense. Funke, however, later agreed to sit down for an interview with the suspect's attorneys. It is unclear if that happened or what came of it. It is still a mystery why Mortensen and Funke took so long to call the police on the night of the slayings. We don't know if it was an issue of intoxication or fear. and Idaho law enforcement told the Post in January. So there you go. I mean, she said she was scared, right? According to a newly released affidavit, Mortensen thought she heard Goncalves saying, "There's someone here," followed by the sound of crying from Kernodle's room and a male voice ringing out, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." I think that was Kohberger who said that. Early police reports said the roommates who lived in the first and second floors of the house had friends come to the scene before one of them finally called 911. The pair very quickly ruled out as suspects, cops said in December. So they were ruled out as being involved almost immediately. Does that mean anything to anybody? Or in December, Mortensen and Funke got matching tattoos on the back of their elbows to honor their murdered roommates. The first letter of each of their friends' first names surrounded by angel wings. Mortensen said her 4 roommates changed the way I look at life. Funke wrote that the victims were all gifts to the world, etc. I mean, we already read that part. All right, so there you go. That was a couple articles there, and then so this is what somebody emailed me because they are friends with somebody whose daughter is friends with one of the survivors. So I mean, a little bit of a telephone game there, but this is what it said yesterday. Okay. And by the way, you guys, if you guys can help support the channel, that'd be great. We're awfully slow, other than the one from the Broken Scout. If you take his away, we're abysmal. Alright, so it says, Gray, I spoke to my friend again regarding Dylan. She told me the story again and explained it a little more. It's nothing earth-shattering, but she said Dylan did say she heard noises, voices, crying, and at first she didn't really think anything of them. But then it got to where she realized something was wrong. She froze in fear, and we all know, and closed and locked her door. She was waiting for someone to come out and say something, or for Maddie and Kaylee to come down the stairs. She was petrified and didn't want to see what had happened. See, that's absolutely reality right there. As soon as you see the horrible thing, that's why people close their eyes, they don't want to see it. Because as soon as you see it, it's real, right? So she probably locked herself in that room and was scared that something really bad happened, but didn't want to verify that something really bad happened. She kept waiting, and no one called out, and no one came downstairs. She also didn't know if someone may still be in the house. It started getting late, and she got to the point she couldn't wait anymore, and that's when she called her friend. She said something to the effect of, "Something happened here. I don't know what, but please come and see what happened and bring everyone." So whomever she spoke to agreed. She gave them the code to the front door, and they came over and discovered what happened. My friend said that Kaylee's boyfriend, Jack D., asked Dylan, "Why didn't you call the police right away?" She said, I don't know. I was scared. I didn't know what to do." That may not be the exact quote, but something along those lines it says. These things told by Dylan was in the very beginning of the investigation, because within a few days of the murders, Dylan and Bethany Funke were put under police protection, and no one was allowed to talk to them or come visit, etc. She told me they took their cell phones, their laptops, and internet access. There were police posted outside their homes, so my friend's stepdaughter hasn't spoken to her since. They also were protecting Jack S. He's the guy with the hoodie at the grub truck. And she said they even took down his mailbox because of death threats, with people saying things like, "We're going to do to you what you did to them." And that's why Dylan and Bethany weren't heard from or had even spoken to the victim's family. I'm questioning the order of the murders too. And then it goes on to some other thing. Because remember early on in the case, people said that Dylan, Ethan Chapin was in the hallway. He was found, and they were like, hey, he's passed out or whatever. But you can tell by the probable cause document that while walking down the hall, he could see Xana Kernodle in the room, and then could see, after going into the room, could see Ethan Chapin. So obviously he wasn't in the hallway. Yeah, we know, Miss Mola. We've been doing this. I mean, why type in something that everybody knows? You know? But Dylan also saw the murder pass right by her too. So what? Yeah, we all know that. We've talked about it literally on every show for, I mean, I don't even know how many months. Okay? My God. No, she's not up to no good, Beth. I think you are, though. I think you should be put in prison. You sound like an absolute whack job. Let's see. I think it was Xana and Kaylee she heard. I think it was Xana, not Kaylee. Yeah, that's what they speculate. You know, but it could be Kaylee. You know, that's the thing. It could be Kaylee and it could be Xana who said, hey, I hear somebody's here. Thank you, Peter. Thanks for thinking of me. All right. So that is kind of just sort of the lead in here. So let's do the people call in and tell your stories of some time when you were scared and how you responded. So I actually have two stories. I've told the Bigfoot story where I was a kid, I was in a tent, and somebody had told a Bigfoot story. I was only like 10 years old. And I got in the tent. And in the middle of the night, I heard this. And I absolutely was frozen. Like I did not move, but I was awake the entire time. Just wondering, what is that Bigfoot? Is that Bigfoot? And I didn't want to open my eyes. I didn't want to look outside the tent. I didn't want to see it. And then finally, light came. And then people were moving around. And I felt like, oh, I can open my eyes. I can do something now. And it was probably just somebody snoring the whole time. All right. So that was one of them. And then there were times when I was in high school. I was like a freshman, and there was these two junior kids that would sort of bully me sometimes, and I would always just be like, oh God, what's going on? And just, and then one day, that's when you can make a pivot in your life, like one day, the bullies, they were just bullying, and I just turned to one of them and I go, if you ever I actually grabbed him and slammed him up against the locker and said, if you ever talk to me like that again, I'm gonna punch, I'll punch you in the face or whatever I said. And you know what's amazing? They never talked to me again after that. So that's sort of those things. Like, but when I was a kid, that's exactly the same feeling. I can absolutely empathize with Dylan Mortensen and how she felt because of that one experience when I was a really young kid. All right. I delete comments that are stupid, Lisa Ann, and I haven't deleted any tonight. Let's see. Great, you delete comments you don't agree with. It's twisted to delete threads of comments simply because you don't agree with the post. That's not how you make a successful channel, you bastard. Hello.
Oh, hi. Great, how are you?
Hey, who's this?
My name is G.
G?
Yeah, just G.
G, okay. Well, what's your story?
My story is I had a home invasion years back. I was obviously much younger. It was in the year 2000, and I had just gotten home from work. I was with my fiance, and we were about to return something at Target, a vacuum cleaner that didn't work. So we're still in our coats, and all of a sudden somebody walks in the 2-flat apartment, and he was wearing a ski mask,
wow,
had a gun in his hand, and I zoned in on the blue eyes. That's all I saw with the gun. I ran into the bedroom and in the closet, and My fiance was about to run out the back door, but then had to come where I was. And the guy came in. At first I thought, I froze. I thought, this is definitely a joke. The last thing on my mind was that this seriously could be happening. Like the last thing. I didn't watch crime stories. I didn't even think about anything like that. I said, this is not funny. This is his friend, Frank, pulling a practical joke. Then I realized, no, this is real. So that's when I ran in the closet, had my phone on me, didn't call 911. The last thing on my mind, too, last thing on my mind was I just wanted all of this to be done and gone and not happening. So I just put myself in mode of course, he came into the closet, dragged us out, hog-tied us, blindfolded us. And,
Jesus.
I mean, a lot of really bad things happened. He stayed for an hour, left 3 times. I'm not going to tell you the things that he did to me, but regardless, I literally saw him for 5 seconds. My fiance saw him for that same 5 seconds, yet he saw a gap in his teeth. He saw a knife, which I guess he pronged his foot with a knife as well. I never saw the knife. We didn't call 911. He left 3 times and came back. He took our IDs. He said a bunch of things. He said...
but you're still tied up? Were you still tied up when he took off and came back? Or?
Yeah, I was hog-tied.
So how would you have called 911 anyways?
He thought I was going to... After, when he left.
Oh.
I was able to get myself out.
Oh, okay.
My fiance was much more hog-tied than I was, harder, because he kept untying me. He had an ankle monitor, never saw that. We called a friend. Finally, after the 3rd time, I couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, you know what? I'll just die. I really just don't care. I need this to stop. It was torture, like torture. And my fiance didn't even want to get out of bed at that point. And I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm going to lock the door. I can't take this. So reason we didn't call 911 is because he kept threatening that, A, his brother, who's worse than him, is outside, and B, his girlfriend works dispatch, and if we call 911, he has our IDs, so he will find us and kill us. He knows exactly who we are. So we called a friend who's a police officer, which happened to call during that time, because that's the 2nd time that he returned, because the phone rang, and he's like, who did you call? Who did you call? Because he kept going throughout the apartment and searching for things. And we're like, nobody. And anyhow, finally, 3rd time, he left, and I was like convinced he was done. I didn't even care if he was coming back at that point. I was so done. We ended up calling a friend who's the police officer that we saw called, and he came over. He called 911 for us. So it was a whole problem that they didn't believe us because our stories were not exactly the same. Imagine the same circumstance, same things happening, but my fiance and I had a little bit different versions.
So why do you think you didn't call 911 in between those times?
Didn't even dawn on me.
Didn't even dawn on you. See, look at that.
No.
Yeah.
Didn't even dawn on me.
Mm-hmm.
I was scared to death. I didn't know what to do. He threatened us so much. Oh, and then we had our own gun in the closet. So he asked us, do you have any weapons? And we're like, yeah. And he found it because we knew he would anyways. He was searching up and down. And he's like, oh, imagine if I killed you with your own gun. Imagine how funny the irony would be in that. Imagine if I used your own gun against you. So, I mean, it was really, really, really bad.
Wow.
Yeah. So, anyways, the guy is serving 3 life sentences. Originally, they didn't believe us for a long time, actually. Once people found out it was us, I knew a lot of very important people in the prosecuting state's attorney, and they're like, there's no way these kids are great kids. There's no way this happened to them, like that they'd be making this up. And they really
weren't they just
hard.
able to determine, like, go check and see what ankle monitor was inside of your house? Because they're GPS, right? I mean, they're...
He had his ankle monitor on his leg.
Yeah, couldn't they just determine where he, what ankle monitor of our prisoners was in your house? Did they do a search like that, or? No,
they didn't do a search like that. That would have been smart.
Hmm.
You know, what they did, based on what he said to me, somebody called in a tip to the prosecuting state's attorney, my girlfriend, who was 6 months pregnant with twins at the time, and said to her, hey, this sounds just like this guy, Timothy Mabe. And he said the exact same things years ago. He was known as the Lincoln Park Rapist. He did some really awful things, this guy, and you might want to look into him. And she did, and she found verbatim searched documents of what he said, and he did use those exact words that he used on us, on me, and so that's when they looked into everything and got a search warrant like at midnight, which is unheard of for a judge to like give one, and because he had asked to be out again on the Super Bowl. He had asked to be out, and he wanted us to call the upstairs people and bring them down. And thank God they weren't home. And normally people are in my fiance's house all day long, coming in and out, quiet. Just the craziest situation that nobody was home. Nobody came over. The upstairs girls weren't home, thank God. And on Super Bowl Sunday, he had requested to have permission to go out again. And they're like, we got to get him beforehand. And that's when they searched his residence and found my diamond ring. Well, they found actually not the diamond itself, just the yeah. And he had hacked the diamond. And funny thing is, they found it in New York because, again, I told you I just was lucky and knew people, and they got it all back to me. But he had so much jewelry, anyways. And yeah, so when people judge, you have no idea till you're in. And especially like people who view your channel right now, I'm at a heightened alert. I've been at a heightened alert since that day. And just so you know, my trial date took 4 years. So that was in 2000, and 2004 is when finally we got to try.
It's a long time, a lot of waiting around. But he was locked up the whole time, so you probably didn't feel worried or anything like that.
Yeah, I wasn't worried, but I was never the same, and I probably still never the same. Yeah, probably. So these poor girls, my heart breaks for them because they'll never be the same. Sure, you exist, but I mean, for so long I couldn't go places. Everywhere I went, I thought I saw his face. I thought it was him, and especially until they caught him. So anybody with blue eyes that was like 6'2", I was like, that's him. That's him.
Wow. Yeah, I guess it would probably be like that. I bet you that's why. I mean, just think how freaky that was for Dylan Mortensen in that first month before they made the arrest, right? Like that's probably why she had to get the hell out of there, because they're surviving roommates. And yeah, I mean, that's why they kept that part secret, they said, because if they'd put out the fact that she saw the person with bushy eyebrows, because I knew about the bushy eyebrows 9 days after the murders in an email. And if they had put that out, that she was awake and saw that's why I didn't put it out, because I knew it was that's what I was, it was like a conversation about this might put her in danger. So I just knew about the bushy eyebrows, but I never said anything until they made the arrest and hadn't put out the warrant yet. But then I had a show where I mentioned it. But I mean, that's crazy, because
can you imagine the fear? Yeah. The fear that she had all day, all night. There's sleepless nights, there's fear, you think they're everywhere, you think you're next, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and then on top of it, for everybody to like write those horrific things about them, I don't know. I mean, people really have to put people in other shoes, and remember, this town, Idaho, they say they would leave their doors unlocked. I mean, I'm in a city where I knew it was dangerous, but never would I think this could possibly happen to me. Never in a million years.
As Zozo said, sometimes people suck. Okay,
really
a lot of people that just suck. It's just amazing. I don't know. And there's more sucky people than good people. That's the problem.
Well, hindsight is, 2020, right? Like, obviously, knowing what I know now. But the other thing I wanted to say is, well, if she saw him, she would have seen a bloody knife, or she would have seen, maybe not. Like I said, I didn't see the knife.
Yeah, why everybody always thinks that they're so sleuthy. I mean, it's dark in the house. She saw his face, and then she quickly locked her door, and, she was frozen there, and when he walked away, he locked the door. She's not looking at anything else. And why do people even assume that she would see certain things? It's just crazy. She saw it. If she didn't, she didn't.
The lights were on in the house. I mean, it was dark out, but the lights were on. I mean, and I did never notice the knife.
Yeah, well, I mean, your lights were even on, and you didn't notice it. I mean, it's just a paralyzing feeling for part of it. Like originally, right? Maybe the first time he was in there. Like you're just not really
the
sure.
The first 5 seconds that I saw him, I literally thought this had to be a practical joke and it's not funny. And I literally, because I saw these big blue eyes, my fiance had a friend who has huge blue eyes and has the same height and frame. So I said, oh my God, like this stopped in my head. Like this isn't funny. What could you be thinking? You know? And then I'm like, oh my God, it's real. And I just ran to hide. That was the only thing on my mind, just hide and make it go away.
Yeah, that's just, that sounds creepy, almost like right there with the East Area rapist kind of situation, you know?
Yeah, really awful situation. Yeah, so...
well, I'm glad you made it out of it,
God.
though. How about that?
Yeah, we made it out for a reason, obviously, and sure, and, you know, I just try to teach people to be prepared for, you know how you're supposed to practice warnings for a tornado, for all these? I think what we don't teach people is to be prepared what to do in these situations, that it is possible. And if now I'm prepared, I know what to do, right? But back then, there was no preparation, not even a thought.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you calling in and sharing your story.
Sure. I hope it helps anyone out there.
We'll have more people call in to tell theirs. All right. But anyways, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Bye, Grace.
Bye-bye. All right. Now I think I only can take one call at a time. So there were many people they wrote their stories down in the community post the other day. So just call in and tell your story now. It's not a huge deal. All right? Here we go. I mean, people aren't gonna judge you. Hello? This is great. Who's this? Hey, who's
this is Liz Parsons.
Liz Parsons. Oh, you've been around a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have for about a little over 4 years.
Oh, man. Thank you.
I joined you the night that you had, for the Vallow Daybell case, you had the grandparents on. That was my first night with you.
Oh, really? Wow.
And I've only missed 3 nights since then.
Are you serious? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. So I called in about my story. I had posted it earlier, but back in '93, my daughter was 8.5 months pregnant, and she worked at the sheriff's department. And she had got off work, and she and I were going to go pick something up to eat, and we had to stop by the drugstore. So as we were, and I lived in a very small town in Georgia, I won't name it, but it's a very small town. So as we were going to the drugstore, I noticed this car kind of tailgating me, but I thought, well, you know, I'm probably going too slow or something. But we pulled into the shopping center where the drugstore was, and I got out, or as I was getting out, she was getting out. She was going to run in to get something. And as I was getting out, this black car pulled in beside me, and the guy jumped out. And before I could even get my feet on the ground almost, he was chest bumping me. And I didn't know what was happening. It was like, it happened so fast. And he was chest bumping me and almost growling. And I couldn't say anything. I didn't push back on him. I had no idea what was happening. My daughter was running around the car, and she had her badge on, and she said, Sheriff's Department, get away from her, Sheriff's Department. And he headbutted me, which almost blinded me. And then he jumped in his car, and he took off. And she called the police. I could not say a word. When they got there, it was like nothing would come out. I for days, I couldn't talk. I couldn't tell you what he looked like. I couldn't tell you what he had on. My daughter said it's a black man. He's about 6 foot, and he was driving a black car. It paralyzed me for weeks.
Wow.
I couldn't leave the house. I was so scared. And it was like, and they never found him. We really had, back then, we didn't have cameras everywhere. And the only thing I can figure is that it was road rage. Not that I knew of anything I had done to him, but because he jumped out of his car and attacked me like that. And I'd never seen this person before.
So,
but
so he was behind you. You think it was road rage? I mean, he didn't do anything but get out of his car and then he headbutts you.
Well, he was tailgating me as we came up the road.
Mm-hmm.
In our little town, we've got one red stoplight, and
that's a small
and
town.
And so
there.
It's a very small town. When I was sitting at that stoplight, it turned green, and he blew the horn at me, which I didn't know who he was back there, but I thought, oh, he's impatient, or they're impatient. And so from the stoplight to the drugstore is about 1.5 miles. And he rode my bumper that 1.5 miles, and I thought, oh, this person's in a hurry, you know. I make a left-hand turn into the parking lot, and he swings around, so that when he swings around, his car door, he opens it up, you know, as I'm getting out my car door. So he was right there in my face. It all happened so fast, and it was over so fast, and I was just like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. But I couldn't even talk. And I have thought about these girls in this situation and the fear that they were in, especially the one that saw him.
Yeah, Dylan.
So I can only imagine the fear she had, not knowing what was going on around her, but knowing that strange things were going on.
Yeah, like she hears loud. I think she probably heard yelling, maybe fighting, wasn't really sure, and really didn't want to verify it herself because she thought, man, something really bad might have happened. But then she locks her door, and then she's in the room, but she doesn't know if something really bad happened, and didn't want to go verify if something happened because then it becomes real. That's how I think people think a little bit. Once you see it, that's why people close their eyes when they're like, they're in a dangerous situation. They kind of close their eyes.
Confronted with something.
Yeah.
Well, one of my granddaughters just graduated college, and she lived in an apartment with 3 other girls. There was 4 of them in there. They each had their own bedrooms and a community room. And we talked about this case because she said one night one of the girls had a boy over that was in her bed, in that girl's bedroom, and she said that they were arguing, and she could hear it, and she wondered, should I go knock on the door? Should I leave them alone? You know, do I stick my nose in this? Mm-hmm. She said, I really didn't know what to do. So she texted one of the other roommates and said, do you hear them arguing? And the other girl said, yes, but I don't think that I want to get in on it. So she said, you know, I left it alone. And she said, and then the guy left, and then the girls came out and talked to the other girl. So in situations like that, these are roommates that you've been rooming with for a very short amount of time. And so maybe Dylan thought, are they arguing out there? Should I go see? Should I not go see? Mm-hmm. You know, maybe they'll get mad if I interfere.
And then she saw, she saw a stranger, and she was just like,
right.
Who the hell was that? Did he do something? And then shuts the door, but she never came out to go verify what maybe had happened, but texted, tried to get people to respond, and then probably once it got really quiet, maybe she slept for a little bit, I don't know. And then in the morning, I don't know, it's just kind of one of those things I can see. I totally empathize with how she was.
I do too.
Based on when I was a kid. I don't know. I probably wouldn't be like that now.
Fear can freeze you.
But it's just one of those things that people are different, and have those responses at different ages and times, etc. It doesn't matter.
Right. Okay, not going to keep you. Just wanted to call in and give my story.
Well, thank you.
Tell you I love you. I support you.
All right.
I've been watching the Fannie Willis stuff down here in Atlanta.
Oh,
and,
yeah, I watched some of that.
It's crazy. But
the judge sort of seems like he's a little bit like he's like wishy-washy, like he's not sure. That was so obvious, that case.
Yeah.
But we don't need to talk about it. But anyways, thanks for calling in.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Big fan. Love you. Bye.
Bye. All right. Love you too. Parsons. Been around for 48 months at least. Yep. All right, who's calling in again? You got to tell your story of a time that something like this, something doesn't have to be exactly like this, but an instance where you can describe how you felt. All right, don't type it in. No, if you're going to type it in, then call in. Okay. So that's what tonight's show is basically about. I was supposed to be doing Mercedes Vega tonight, so kind of had to switch to this. But Erica Pillsbury, the mother, their house flooded. Some pipe burst or something. Come on, you guys. It's up to you. It's not spelled like that, Lori. Her name is Kaylee. One of the girls were arguing with the boyfriend. Don't believe that Kaylee wasn't living there and Maddie wasn't fighting with her boyfriend. Who doesn't live in Moscow? That lady was told a lot. What the hell are you even saying, Lori, or whatever the hell your name is? Just type in a sentence that makes sense, please. That makes no sense at all. What do you mean, that lady? Who are you referring to? Nobody knows anything what you're saying. I don't either. I read it like twice, and it's just, if you're going to come in with some vigor like that and act like you're just on top of something, at least write a sentence that's understandable. Nobody has a clue what you just typed in. Let's see. All right, who's calling in? Come on, you guys. I'm just going to stare at the screen. Yeah, I mean, my picture is that Dylan was in a room. She was probably sleeping even, and then heard what sounded like a dog, and she didn't look at her clock. She just knows what time it was later. Hello, who's this?
Hello.
Hello. Who
I
is
caught your show, the opening of your show, real quick,
Okay.
and I was a few steps behind, and so I got a few stories for you.
All right. Are they
I
personal
have
ones
been
for yourself?
stalked twice.
Oh, okay. Your personal
I've been
stories.
stalked twice.
Yeah.
This is my personal experience. I have been physically stalked twice in my entire life.
Is that you in the
And one of the
background?
worst-
Well, hold on a second. Is that your sound in the background? Can you turn down the audio on that device?
Yeah, I just did.
Okay, there you go. You've been stalked twice.
Yeah, I've been stalked twice in my lifetime. The first time was when I had gone out drinking by myself, and I didn't know anybody in the town. I had just moved there, and I went to a nice, quiet place, older people in it, so a bunch of, elk people, and they belong to the Elks Club, and stuff like that. So I figured it was pretty safe. And I was playing pool with somebody. And I used to be very good at pool because I got trained by, believe it or not, a guy who used to know Minnesota Fats. So that was way back in the day.
I remember him.
and he taught me how to shoot pool.
Oh, yeah.
So I
No, hold on. It
shooting
was
pool
Minnesota Fats and Willie Moscone, right?
Right.
Yeah, see, I remember
Right.
those guys. They'd play each other all the time.
And so I was in my 30s. I was about 28. And this guy was almost 80. And he used to come into this. I used to live on the top of this bar. I had a little one-bedroom apartment. And I used to go down there and play pool. And he'd say, you know, you should try over this way, or do this or do that. And it wasn't until I told him, like, people literally used to line up to shoot pool with me just to see if they could beat me.
So you're pretty
And
good.
so I said to him, I want to go pro. And he said, this is where it ends, right here. He said, I won't teach you another thing. He said, if you try to go pro. He said, because your life will be ruined. And this was, it was in the 80s. So women, I don't think were even out on the professional leagues at that time. It wasn't until I think the early 90s they start coming out. And so anyway, I never went pro. But back to my other story. So one night I was out having a cocktail, and it wasn't much going on. It was kind of like the end of the night. And so the lights came on, you know, for last call for alcohol. The lights are on. I'm by myself. I was sitting on the corner of the bar. And all of a sudden, this guy who's dressed in, is it asbestos? I forget what the heck the cloth was back in the day, but they were old-fashioned pants. Nobody wore them anymore. And a shirt. You could, you know, kind of like he walked out of Andy and Mayberry or something. But anyway, he was about 30. He walked in and he just lays a kiss on me, right on the lips. I didn't even know him. And I shoved him back and I said, don't do that again because I will hurt you. And he didn't say anything. He just stepped back. And I said, I'm going home, Hal, I said to the owner of the bar. And I walked out. I was in a huff. Do you know, he was following me. When I went to get into my car, I turned around, and there he was. And I'm telling you, it was like, you just know when you're in danger. I was like a deer frozen in headlights. And I'm looking at this guy, and all I'm trying to think of is, how am I going to hurt him? Because I know I'm going to have to hurt him. Because something is bad. He's got bad intentions here. And I repositioned my keys in my hand because I was going to come up and punch him in the eye with one of the keys, you know, and try to run. And I reached around with my left hand real quick and I unlocked my car door just in case I could grab it and get away, you know, get in my car. And I took one step forward and I said to him, come on, it's either you or me. Let's go. And you know, he ran. Now, he skedaddled out of there. And I'm not telling the story to say because I was tough or anything like that. But you know, the next day, it was on the news that this man, they were looking for him. He was a rapist.
Oh, man.
Out of Colorado. And, of course, I live in a neighboring state. And he was coming up there. It's only like 100 miles. He was coming up in our neck of the woods to find somebody to attack, and it was going to be me. And so I called the police, and they came over to my house, and I was telling the detective what happened, and he was giving me the shucks man routine. And I don't know if you know what that is, but, you know, it's like where they go, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, we'll take a report, but it never gets filed.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing one of those things to me. And then all of a sudden he looks up on my wall and he says, who was the police officer out in California? And I thought, how the hell does he know? Like, is he psychic or something? I forgot it was even on the wall. I had my certificate on the wall. And I was suddenly looked where he was looking. I said, oh, that's mine. You know, just nonchalant. And he turned white as a sheet. And after that, I had his attention.
Doesn't that suck? Though, you know?
It does suck. It does suck.
I mean,
And then the second time I was almost assaulted, I was living in Colorado. And I kept getting stalked. And I would only get a glimpse of this guy. And I had enough, and I was at the police station, and I was down there, you know, tell them, hey, look, somebody stalked me. I don't know what to do. He's here, he's there. And they said, well, do you have a name? Do you have this? And I said, no, da-da-da-da-da. And I said, and I kept 3 times I went to that police station because I caught, this guy was like in the shadows. You'd see him, but then you wouldn't see him. But it's the look. It's that, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just that predator look. And like, he's, you know, stalking you. He's the wolf, and you're the rabbit that he's about to eat. But when you look in his eyes, there's just like it generates fear, and you just know. And sure enough, once again, I'm in this bar, and I'm with my husband, and we're having a drink, and I said, oh, I forgot something. I got to go out to the car. It was dusk. It wasn't quite dark yet. It was just dusk. And I start out to my car, and I look up, and he jumps from around another car right in front of me. And again, in the minute I see him, I'm like, oh my God, this is it. I mean, he just had a different look on his face. He had, like, you knew he probably wasn't going to murder me, but he was damn sure going to rape me. Like, you just know these things. And I looked around, and nobody was there. Nobody was in the parking lot. And I thought to myself, oh, God, I don't know what to do here, because this guy was about 30 years old. You know, he was in good shape. And I was about 32, but I just didn't think I could beat this guy. And all of a sudden, a car, by the grace of God, a car pulled into the parking lot. And he was stupid enough to take his eyes off of me and look at that car. Well, we both looked at the car, actually. But then I looked back at him, and he was still looking at the car. And I ran like hell. But he was right behind me. But I beat him to the door. And I ran inside the club, and I told my husband what was going on. And we had the cops there. You know, they finally figured out who he was.
And who was
They
he?
said he was stalking blondes.
Oh.
And that there had been other reports, and he got caught.
Well, good.
And those are the only 2
You survived both of
experiences
them.
that I've had. I've been lucky.
Yeah. No, I mean, you survived, and you sound like you're more the fighter type, not the. Well, the one time you said you were sort of frozen for a second, and then you started moving or thinking, right?
Well, I think you're always caught off guard. You know, you're just that initial shock that you're in that situation.
And I think here's what the difference is. See, like a story like yours and a couple of the last ones is different because Dylan wasn't somebody that was being attacked. So you see somebody that just is hearing things, and the person never attacked her, and she doesn't want to go out and verify it because as soon as she sees it, then it all becomes real if there's something really bad that happens. So she's trying to justify it in her mind.
Sure.
That's what I'm thinking. Like,
sure.
I mean, what do you think?
You
What's
know
your
what?
opinion?
She could probably hear through those vents. The way that house was built.
It's also really thin walls, so she could hear it.
And the very thin walls, I watched it come down.
Mm-hmm.
It was easy breezy to knock those walls down.
Yeah.
They're like cardboard. And so she had to hear, she was hearing phrases, and she knew that this was different. And I think it scared her. I really do. And then when she opened the door and she almost ran into somebody by just allegedly.
Well, she just opened it up and could see through it, but hadn't gone out of the door yet.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But she almost did. And just that alone, that somebody is just whisking past you 4 o'clock in the morning in a house when everybody really should be sleeping. What the hell was going on? And it in a mask too,
mm-hmm.
in dark clothing.
So
I would have closed the door and locked it and probably been in the closet for about an hour and not made a move.
Yeah, I think that's sort of a common thing. Yeah, you don't want to make any sound. You don't want to get on the phone and call. You might text somebody, but you're just kind of, you're freaked out. Yeah.
Yeah, you are, but not for 8 hours.
Yeah, well,
I think.
Well, the thing is, she was texting people, and then, when you say, well, go ahead, finish what you're going to say.
Oh, I was going to say not for 8 hours. That's just like, if she had been attacked herself or something like that, and then she crawled off, in a safe place, and she didn't want to make a sound. If it was that kind of situation, 8 hours. Hell, I'd have been there 2 days.
Right, but she wasn't attacked, though, right? So the thing is I think in her situation, she just thought something bad might have happened, but she went out of her way to not see if something bad happened. Because once you see it, it's real. That's how I think it's exactly how her mind was probably working. You know what I mean? Like
here's the thing. She texted everybody and her brother, and she made some phone calls.
Yeah. Well, we don't know. We don't know anything about phone calls. We know about there was text messages. So she texted her roommate, Bethany, back and forth, and she probably tried to text. I mean, I'm just going to, she probably tried to text the other roommates in the house, but they never responded. Right? So then she was probably getting nervous about it, and then people didn't start going over there till or late morning, so it wasn't like she was calling people late at night going, hey, come over, like that.
Well, the thing about it is somebody called 911 and they said that somebody wasn't waking up. But
that was her phone.
Was under the impression that one of those young ladies passed out on the lawn outside the doorway.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like at the beginning, but that's not what happened. That was just that was just really bad, reporting and communication out there. It was really just even when the friends showed up, she was so freaked out that the friend had to take her phone, and they called 911 with one of the two surviving roommates' phone. I think it was Dylan's, and they called 911 because they saw somebody that looked like they were unconscious. Is the term that they use. So. Yeah.
Are you telling me you don't think she came out of that bedroom and went to take a look and didn't see all that blood?
Yeah.
And that's what freaked her out?
I don't think she came out. I bet you she didn't leave that room until people showed up. I even read you the thing earlier. It says right here. This is something that one of the friends wrote. It said, she said something to the effect of, something happened here. I don't know what, but please come and see what happened and bring everyone. So whoever she spoke to agreed. She gave them the code to the front door, and then they came over and discovered what happened. But it says right here, it says she kept waiting. Oh, wait, let me read this part here. So this is where this sounds exactly right. It says, she froze in fear, as we all know, and closed and locked her door. She was waiting for someone to come out and say something, or for Maddie and Kaylee to come down the stairs. She was petrified and didn't want to see what had happened. So that's exactly what I've always thought right there. She kept waiting, and no one called out, and no one came downstairs. She also didn't know if someone may still be in the house. It started getting late, and she got to the point she couldn't wait anymore, and that's when she called her friends. She said something to the effect of, something happened here. I don't know what, but please come and see what happened and bring everyone. So whomever she spoke to agreed. She gave them the code to the front door, and they came over and discovered what happened. So that's how it went, like that. That's how it was explained to a friend of Dylan's.
Uh-huh.
Yep, people are just different.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I don't know. I just find that hard to believe she didn't have to come out to.
I know. Well, I mean, your opinion is the same as everybody else. Yeah, like, you know, you're gonna not leave your room if you're scared that there's somebody out there. So I know you, like, people like you think it's hard to believe. So therefore, then it has to be nefarious, right? That means, see, the thing is, when people say it's hard to believe, then that means you then think she has something to do with the murders, right? Because it is what happened. She has nothing to do with the murders, and she just didn't call in. So.
No, I'm not thinking that she had anything to do with the murders. I didn't say that.
Well, I know you didn't say it. But that's what it implies. You say it's hard to believe she didn't come out and see something, and then at that point it becomes a point where it's like, oh wow, something nefarious must be going on. Then it is what it is, right? She didn't call 911. She had people come over. They're the ones that called 911, and that's what happened. You see, so it's like we're always sitting there questioning. Oh my God! So she didn't go to use the bathroom or anything. I mean, she might have had to go to the bathroom a lot, you know. But I'm telling you that night with the Bigfoot experience when I was a kid, laying there in the tent, wondering if Bigfoot was there. I had to go to the bathroom the whole time, and I sat there for like 7-8 hours, just closed my eyes in the tent, and then finally somebody spoke out there, and then I come out and everything's normal. There wasn't a Bigfoot. You know, but it just is what it is. You know, some people are just different.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Maybe, you know, some people are different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I know you're not.
What I meant by, you know, I was just saying if I was applying that, you know, when you ask for an opinion, when somebody has an opinion, they're taking themselves and they're trying to imagine themselves in that position and what they might do. And so you have a view from your perspective. You know, you might have a view from what is the norm, you know, in some psychological report. I mean, everybody is different. So there's nothing nefarious. I'm not pointing the finger at her. I'm not saying allegedly this, that, or the other thing. I just say...
That's not what you would do. That's all you can really say. That's just not what I would do. You know, like that. I
would probably come out after like 5 hours. Like once it was daylight, I would be out of my room.
Yeah, exactly. But that's where you can say, well, I wouldn't have waited as long as she did. That's not what I would have done. That's about it, right? You can't say, wow, that's weird. Yeah. That's crazy. There's something not quite right there. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. I mean, 5 hours. Why 5? I mean, geez, why would you have to wait till the light? I mean, wouldn't you just wait till it was not noisy anymore and then go out and check out and see if anybody got hurt? And, you know,
not if it's dark.
Well, see, there you go. There you go. See?
Not if it's dark. I'd wait for the light at least. You know what I'm saying? Because if this happened in the time frame that the police say it happened, that means it was light within 4 hours.
Yeah. No, I mean, I always bring that up as a point. Like, when people get really like, man, that just doesn't make sense. Why would she do that? And then where do we go from there? Because she's in it. She's not part of it. Investigators have already cleared both of them. And so at that point, it's like, I guess that's what the whole thing for me is at that point, if you don't think they're involved and you say, wow, why would she do that? It's just, that is what she did. They were found completely not involved. They were cleared by law enforcement. They checked all their communications. They looked at all that stuff. And so then at that point, it's like, that's why I word things differently. Like, yeah, that's not how I would have done it. But in a case like that.
Well, you know, you are what you live, Gary.
Gray.
You know? And,
although, hey, it's Gray is my name, but they called me Gary on my diploma from college.
What's your name?
Gray.
Gray? Okay.
I like the color gray.
I'm sorry.
How did you even know that? Where did you see my name, anyways?
Look, don't even ask. I'm in the beginning stages of Alzheimer's, I think.
Come on. You're fine.
I've had a rough day.
There's no way. You told those stories like they were right. It was right there in your head. You got it. You're doing just fine. So you're pretty good.
Long memory.
You were pretty good at pool, though, right? Can you still play, or?
No.
No.
I tried playing about 4 years ago, and I couldn't even do a decent break on the table. No.
You know what's weird is I feel the same. Like I played basketball every single day basically until I was about 33 years old, and then about 5 years after that, I go, wow, hell, I'm gonna go over here and kick. I played I was so shitty. I couldn't even hit the rim. I was like, what the hell's going on? I was a great shooter. I could drill 3-pointers all day long, and I couldn't even, even though it felt the same kind of leaving my hand, I just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So I just said, my time's up. Yeah.
It's, you just lose it. You know what I'm saying? You just lose the ability because you're just out of shape.
Yeah, or you just didn't. You haven't played for so long. The things that used to
or
be.
You forget.
Remember when you were playing a lot? You could probably go a month and then play and still be great. But if you wait too long, then your muscles don't remember how you were doing it before, and that's just kind of the reality, I think.
Well, it wasn't my pool stick. It wasn't. I had a beautiful pool stick I had gotten in Europe when I lived there, and it was hand carved, and it inside. The handle was round, like it had a bulb on the end of it. But when you opened it up, inside were take a bulb and cut it in half. So there's these little half discs that were inside that handle. And depending on how much you put on, you could change the weight of your stick.
Oh, cool. Did you like the heavier ones or the light ones?
Yeah, it was gorgeous, and I always liked playing with the 19.
Yeah, I don't know all the names, but
I always played with a heavy stick.
But I used to watch on Wide World of Sports, Minnesota Fats and Willie Mosconi play each other all the time. It was funny. I don't know why I remembered Willie Mosconi, but.
Well, this guy, one thing I've learned in life, because I'm old enough now, is it's a small world, and you just never know who's standing next to you, who they are, where they came from, yada, yada, yada. You can sit there and, and be in the middle of a conversation. All of a sudden somebody will interject, and they'll be all over you because they're an expert in something. Make you look foolish in 2.5 seconds.
Well, he would have been great to be a hustle you that night. He could have hustled the hell out of you. Oh, God, I don't even know.
He could have. He could have.
Yeah.
But all he wanted to do was sit in that chair and just watch everybody who came up to that table. But I'll tell you something interesting. I played, you're going to laugh when I tell you this, I literally played a minimum of 30 games a day.
Wow. That's crazy.
And that was, half of that was exercise.
Did you play for money, though, or?
No.
Oh, you could have.
No,
you would have been great.
Every bar is different.
Yeah.
You get kicked out. I didn't want that to happen. They don't want that happening in those small little places like that. Uh-huh. So it was just a little corner neighborhood deal, And but all those old timers used to come in there, and then when that guy told me who he was, I can't remember his name. It's just been so many years. But he said, well, I played with Minnesota Fats years ago. And I looked at him, and I recognized the name because I remember him from television. Mm-hmm. Well, and that dates me, doesn't it? So anyway.
Well, hey, I remembered the names myself. So.
Yeah. So yeah. I remember why they called him that, But then again, I was raised in an Italian family. So, there's just certain sports that were on television on a regular basis. And there was always betting going on. In my household, though, it was the racetrack. I lived at Saratoga Racetrack up in New York as a child. I was raised on that track.
Nice.
And because my father gambled up there all the time. I even knew his bookie. And I guess I tried to hustle his bookie when I was like 5 years old. He used to make me go stand over by the $100 windows. And he used to say, now come back and tell me what numbers they're betting on. So one day I was standing there and I yelled out, they got $100 on number 3, Daddy. And I remember my father just taking the newspaper he had in his hand and almost half covering his face with it. Like, I don't know this kid, get her out of here. How did she get in here? That type of deal. And standing next to him was this other guy. Hell, he was just a short little thing himself. And he had glasses, and he looked at me and he said, what number are you going to bet on? I said, well, I'm going to bet on number 3. And he says, okay. He says, well, I'll make the bet for you. He said, you got $2? And I said, yep, right here. So I handed him $2. And I said to him, now, if my horse doesn't win, do I get my money back? And I remember him looking at my father going, oh, my God, get a pan and cut my wrist. She wants my blood. He says, she's already starting at a young age. And he just laughed, And so that was his bookie that I talked to that day. But I'll tell you something. This is amazing. So talk about you don't know who people are. So I don't know if you ever remember the first female who had her saddle in her hand and she stepped up on the scales in Saratoga, New York. And she had long pigtails. And I think I was 7 at the time. And I rode horses, and I've had them all my life. I've chased cans on them. I just adore them. And but anyway, I was little then, and I looked at my father and I said, "That's what I'm going to be when I grow up. I'm going to be a jockey." And he said, "You can't be a jockey." He says, "You're going to be too tall." And I remember saying, "Well, how do you know?" He says, "Don't be so smart." But anyway, I was too tall anyway, but come to find out, you'll never guess who that woman became.
Who was it?
My mother-in-law.
Oh, wow. So,
yeah.
Well, let's see. So you married her son?
Yeah.
That's crazy. What are the odds of that?
Yeah, I married into a famous family. Isn't that amazing?
And who was she? Like, what was her?
She was Ramona Dalton.
Oh, okay. She
has made history in the horse world. Anybody can look her up. She's in the Cowgirl Hall of Fame.
What's her name?
And Ramona Dalton, Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
And she was the first female ever to ride a thoroughbred horse on the track. And she won. Darn it, she won. And she made history. And then she started racing all over the country. She went out to California. Sometimes she ran, I think, up here in Wyoming, and some other places. So, but she has stayed famous all her life. Her father had a ranch, and he had bucking horses. And he still, the Merritt family, they're my relatives, they still sell their horses to the pro rodeo people around the country. Their horses are purebred. They're just amazing horses. They have their own line, and they're up in Colorado. But every year they have a bucking horse sale.
Wow, it sounds like you had like a crazy life. You should write a book. You had so many stories, right?
She wrote a book.
Well, you could write one.
The Western Horseman. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Her father and another gentleman started that magazine. They wrote that magazine years ago and published it.
Well, there you go.
in the very beginning. So there's a lot of fame there. I don't have any fame. Last time I wrote
well, maybe
anything,
if you went and played, went pro and cool against Minnesota Fats' advice. But look, hey, I'm gonna get some different callers calling in with their stories.
Yeah.
And what was
well,
your?
It's been nice talking to you.
What was your name again?
Jan.
Jan. Well, I'm Gray. Okay, not Gary.
Okay.
Although it did say
I'm
Gary
sorry.
on my diploma. It said Gary on my diploma. So
I know. I got confused.
It's okay. It's okay. All right. Jan.
Okay.
Well, thanks very much for calling in. That was
okay.
Good.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. All right, man. I feel like I just read a book or something. Like it was interesting. Let's see. She had 2 different stalkers. Stood up to both of them. Then she ran into Minnesota Fats, who told her he'll only show her how to play if she doesn't go pro because it'll ruin her life. Yeah, I thought it was just pretty cool. Then she married the son of a horse. I mean, there's so much more. I mean, I can't even remember now. But anyways, call in right now and tell us the story where you had an experience where you were scared and maybe you froze for a while, or you didn't. Like, whatever it is that you experienced. But I'm trying to find... I mean, there's people out there that have so... Oh, hold on a second. Hello.
Gray?
Hello, who's this?
This is Allie Cake.
Allie Cake, all right. There you go.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, that's right. I told you to call in, and you didn't tell the whole story, but maybe you can say your story.
Okay. I've never told, like I told you before, I've never told any, anyone outside of my family and a few friends. But it's I'm not a great talker anyhow.
You'll be fine.
I'd like to tell some of my story because people do freeze, and I don't know where to start it from, but
well, just wherever you feel comfortable, just start there. Yeah.
Okay. I was, gosh, it's very embarrassing, but I was forced to drive my car. A really big person. I was just so petrified. I did whatever he said to do.
Well, where were you?
And
How did the person get into your? Like, tell that part. Like, what happened that somebody got into your car? Yeah.
I was leaving a bar. My friends went out the front, and I went out the back. And a guy said hi to me, and he looked really friendly and like he acted like he knew me. And I got close to him, and that's all it took. And I wish I could say that I ran away or something, but I didn't do that. I just did what he said. And that stayed with me forever. And he was crazy. And yeah.
So he got you into his car or your car?
My car.
And
my car. Yeah.
When you say he's big, like when he was he just like?
When he's big, I mean like a football player big, like ginormous big. Mm-hmm. And I was so afraid, and I was also young. You know, I probably wasn't even legal age to be at the bar, but. It's hard to tell you this because I judge myself still on it, but
we won't judge you. Nobody's here judging you. You can But you're not alone here. There's a lot of people who have done exactly the same thing. So just go ahead and you're safe.
Yeah, I did it. I drove. He had me drive up this canyon, and I'm talking. I was so afraid. I did not know where. I was just driving in the dark, and I did not know what was going to happen. I was so scared, and he told me where to go, and we ended up. He had a whole place in mind. There was a cabin, and he took me in the cabin and attacked me, viciously attacked me. And the things that he said and did will stay in my mind forever. And he fell asleep, and I'm not kidding you. I could have just left, but I stayed until it was morning time. I just stayed, and he did not wake up. I know he must have been on major drugs. I know it, because he was just like, he was an animal. And I didn't live at home at the time. I left home when I was 18. The first thing I did is I drove down the canyon. I didn't tell you the part where I just decided I've got to leave. And I left. But it took hours. I was awake the entire time, completely frozen for hours.
Like when you're in the cabin, you were wide awake the whole time.
When I was in the cabin, after he fell asleep, I just sat there awake and so scared. And the memories kind of come and go as I talk about it. And it's very difficult, but if it could help someone to understand the fear, because the man is so big. And I thought, I'll be dead, like in an instant. And I couldn't have any thoughts. Like, I didn't have any thoughts of like how to defend myself. But I finally just got the courage. But I mean, I was there for hours. And so nobody can tell me that you can't freeze. You can freeze. And that I want you to know from my experience, freezing is absolutely a thing.
So let me ask you something. So did you get? I missed the part. Maybe did you get in your car and just drive away, like in the morning when it got light? Or
I did. I went. I got my keys were right there, and I just went as fast as I could. And the first place I went, and I mean, this is far away. It probably was an hour and a half away.
Man, that must have been scary, just running to the car, thinking he might come chasing you, right?
Yeah, I thought he was going to kill me. I thought, this guy is going to kill me. I mean, he was telling me things that he could do. I mean, he left marks on me and said, I own you for 2 months.
Jesus.
And I'm like, I was horrified. But I can say it today, but I'm 50 something. And I was just a young girl. And the one thing I also want people to know is that if your kid, your young adult that doesn't live at home, shows up one morning and they've got marks and things all over them, and you need to ask why, and not be too hard on them. My parents were like, what, they were just shocked, but they thought that I had been like a slut. That's what I was called. And so it was like met with like another disappointing. It was really hard because I couldn't tell anybody.
Jeez. So but you totally, you had the time that you were sitting there not moving is exactly what I picture, and I think that's what I felt like when I thought Bigfoot was out there when I was a little kid, and then also like Dylan in there, not sure what that was, but she's still, communicating with Bethany and stuff like that, but sort of like a half, not quite this, because you were being like physically attacked and you were part of what's going on, where she was sort of outside of that but still scared.
And she may have been scared that what's going to happen to me,
right?
If I make a move.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have cell phones back in that time, and all I knew was that I didn't even really know how I was going to get back to the road. I was trying to figure that out, but I just knew if I got to my car, I could defend myself with my car. That was the only thing I thought of, if I could just get back to my car.
How far was it from the cabin to the car?
Oh, it was just right there.
So did you sneak out the front door, like make it quiet or something? Or?
I think I just ran and just. I mean, to be honest, like I can't tell you that I know what I did because it's been so long, and I think it's the PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone to a lot of counseling for it because it was so frightening, and just to be sitting there going, oh gosh, what's going to happen next if I move? What do I do? And it changed my life. It changed the trajectory of my life, because for a long time I let what he said win. And because he said a lot of different things, and he obviously hated women, and I'm embarrassed that I let myself, I didn't run, I didn't scream.
Well, I don't think you should be embarrassed, because I actually suggest that sometimes in a case where once you've been taken somewhere, one of the best options is to just pretend, oh yeah, hey, you're great and everything, and you might live. You escaped, which was amazing. So you should be proud of yourself for that.
I am really happy for that, but I'm super thankful. But that fear is very real, and so I get upset when people say that you can't freeze. And it depends on the type of household that you're raised in. Where I was raised in a house where you obeyed and you didn't question anything. I was never taught to stand up for myself. I look back on it and I think that's probably where that comes from. So anyway, I appreciate you letting me tell my story.
Well, how did it go? I thought you told it well, and I hope it didn't, I think you did great. Everybody in the chat's like, wow, you're amazing. So good job. You should be proud of yourself. You shouldn't be, listen, don't be harsh on yourself. I think you probably played it out exactly the way you needed to survive. So you should always be proud of yourself for the decisions you make. This guy was huge. If you try to fight and stuff like that, you might not be sitting here right now. So you did whatever it took to live, and just be proud of yourself for that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and every day, my husband and my kids, I've told my adult children, what's happened, because I want them to know, I've tried to teach them, don't do what mom did, and take self-defense classes. I think that's really important. But anyway, Thank you, Gray. I appreciate you and all the freaks.
No, we appreciate you. Thanks for calling in. Alley cake.
Okay, thank you.
As in alley cake, I say. Okay, anyways, all right.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Bye. Anyways, that was alley cake, everybody. Okay, who's this? Somebody just called right now. Hello?
This is Stephanie.
Stephanie, how's it going?
Good. I'm new to your channel, and I love it, and I can't wait to start donating. So.
Oh, well, thanks. Well, we just, I don't know. People don't have to donate to my channel. What it is just when the pandemic, just to let you know how it all started, like we, even before the pandemic, my channel donated a little bit of money out of the income, a few thousand or something. But then during the pandemic, it just sort of became this amazing thing where we, the first year we donated from the income from the channel, 22,000, then the next year 42,000, and then 62,000, and this year was only 58. But that's last year. So it wasn't too bad, but it's pretty.
No,
amazing.
But I love the motivation behind your channel and the fact that you donate and you do all these wonderful things. And to be honest, the first taste I got of your channel was everything you did of the driving of the Kohberger case and all that in-depth stuff that you did, the driving and everything just made sense. And I love how you just are so bluntly honest and
thanks.
real.
Some people hate that about me, but hey, thank you.
No, I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. And, I completely am 110%, for that. So,
thank you.
And I got home from work and I saw you were on, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to call in because I have a small little story, but I want to talk to him because I want to tell him how great he was and how I showed my husband about all the driving that you did and, through all that. It was beautiful, that desolate place that he went to and how the pinging and how everybody's trying to find him, innocent. And my husband is a peace officer, LA County Sheriff.
Oh, nice.
And it's just like, yeah, okay, sure.
Well, tell him thank you.
He's innocent. Thank you. Well, thank you. And we appreciate you. And he loves the fact that, all the donating and stuff, he's like, Steph, let's donate, this is wonderful what he does. It's absolutely insanely great what he does. And he does it for a cause and a purpose. And he's not on there to just make a quick buck. He's actually doing something with it. Yeah,
we always say that we're one of the few channels that actually makes a difference out there.
Exactly. And I want to commend you, and I want to, thank you for doing what you do and all the hard work and effort that you put into your shows, your investigations, and all the the work. You're so thorough. And
I appreciate that.
It just makes a difference. It really does. And it puts things into perspective, and you are no BS in between.
Well,
my husband's like that.
Well, good.
Don't BS me. Get out of here.
Yeah, that's right.
Go tell somebody else who's gonna believe you, and don't waste my time like you. Don't waste my time. I have better things to do. So, with that said, really quickly, I am 49 years old right now. I have a daughter who is 34. I was actually living with my parents when my daughter was born because I was working and needed help with her. They had just bought this new home, ceiling to floor windows. I was ironing my clothes, getting ready for work, and I heard the side gate shaking. And I was like, that's strange, but just kept ironing my clothes. And keep in mind, we had nothing really set up because we had just moved in, so nothing, was put away in a sense. And so, and we were painting and stuff. And then I see a shadow kind of like come across through the kitchen. I was like in the dining / living room area, and I see a man. And I was like, oh my God. And I stood frozen. And I thought I was going to just lose my SHIT.
Mm-hmm.
And he came through the sliding door. We have, we had a sliding glass door, but then, you have the screen, that comes across it. Well, the screen wasn't locked. Not that it would have done any different, or made any difference. But he comes through the screen, grabs me, covers my face, and keep in mind, we went from a bad neighborhood to a very posh neighborhood in Southern California. So if this would have happened, I thought it would have happened in our old neighborhood. And this was within like the 17th or the 20th day that we were in the house. So he covers my mouth, drags me out the front door. I lose one of my shoes. When he dragged me, there was still like dirt in the front porchway. So, I was trying to fight him off, and there was dirt all over the place. I knocked down a couple lamps, when he was trying to get me out the front door, put me in the car. And I was like, I can't believe it. Like I was literally like, am I in a nightmare? Like I couldn't believe I was actually in this position. So not too far away, there was a commercial building area, and it's not there anymore, but he drove there, and he had a Crown Victoria. I remember the car. It was a blue, Crown Victoria, kind of like, with the, I don't know, like what police used to use back in the day, or I don't know. But it was blue, and he got off the car, told me to stay quiet, not say anything, and that he would be back. And I look ahead, and I see him walking away, and I thought, oh, my God, what am I going to do? I have one shoe. I knew where I was. I wasn't that far away from home. But then my senses just went, all of a sudden I just was like, this is an opportunity for me to get away. But how am I going to get away if I can't unlock the door? He left the keys in the ignition. So I turned the key, I opened the door, I got out, and I ran, and I ran, and I ran home. By that time, I ran to my neighbor's house. I was so out of breath, and it took me about 20 minutes running. And I went to a couple houses.
But you already had your baby? You already had your baby at this point?
Yeah, she was 2 years old.
Oh, 2 years old, okay.
Yeah. And but I was getting ready for work. So, my mom and dad were working, and they, so she was already at the babysitter because I had to come home and get ready for work. And so like I said, I knocked on a few people's doors. Nobody wanted to do with me. I went to the Del Taco, and they looked at me like I was this crazy person. And I'm like, to hell with you. Like, I kept running. I knew where I was. I wasn't that far from home. So when I got home, pulled the phone off the wall, called my mom at work. Not 911. I called my mom. After I called my mom, she's like, okay, I'm leaving here. I don't know if you ever knew of the store. It's called Alpha Beta. It's a grocery store that was here in Southern California, which is now a Kroger's. But she was working there, and then she said, okay, call your dad. My dad was a boxer. My dad's a fighter. He's, he had a concealed weapon permit, all that good stuff. And he always taught me how to fight, always taught me how to handle myself. But in this case, what was I supposed to do? I was literally frozen. So, but then when I got out and I ran, my parents got there, and I waited until my parents got home, and they said, "Did you call 911?" And I said, "No, I wanted to wait for you guys to get home."
And why do you think that was? Why do you think that was that you didn't do that?
Because I felt more secure telling my parents than calling a stranger. That I felt probably like I don't know. I felt more comfortable with my mom and dad. And I was young. Now in hindsight, I think of it and I'm like, why didn't I call 911? My mom had to call 911. Then when the police came, they treated me like I staged the whole thing, and I had to go down to the police department and take a polygraph test.
No, because they don't believe your story. Which is...
Exactly. And then when I went into the polygraph, my mom was like, "Why would you think my daughter would make something like this up? This is insane." He said, "Well, her age, and kids this age really don't, understand, and was she trying to run away from home, and how is their home life, and just trying. I don't know what he was trying to do." And
well, yeah, but what do you
like I was.
Yeah, what do you think he was doing? I mean, he just came in there just to abduct you? I mean, is that what that's it? He came in and got you and left, or was there anything else?
That was it. Never found him.
Wow, that was probably
never found the guy.
That was probably a really dangerous situation that you were in there.
I don't know if he saw, because the house was for sale. It was empty for a while. I don't know if he was a squatter, maybe trying to come in and take shelter. And again, this was a nice. My parents still live there. My dad was going to sell and move to Texas because that's where our family is. And I said, "Dad, we're not going to run away from this." And he literally transformed the home so that way I wouldn't have to look at the home the way it was when we moved in. But we just moved in, so it took 9 months to completely degut the house and yes, so that way I could feel okay. To this day, they own the house.
Wow.
I don't have any problems with it at all. I have a concealed, weapons permit because in this day and age now, that's just the way it is, and that's thanks to my husband. But I have had a few instances where he's, not been here, and I've had, I leave my weapon right next to my bedside.
Yeah.
Tucked near my mattress so I can just pull it out, and that's it. And I feel comfortable. I use it.
What do you have?
Do
you mind if I ask what?
A Desert Eagle.
Oh, Desert Eagle. Well, there you go.
45 caliber. Yes.
Oh, that's pretty. That'll stop somebody.
And I have one that I actually had chromed out and Cerakoted and had all that good stuff done, and a Louis Vuitton handle, just like a bling kind of a, and it's and this one is a Kimber, so I call her Kimberly.
Oh, is that? I was looking at those. Those are expensive. The Kimber.
Yes, they are.
So those are I didn't realize those are the same. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so I have a Desert Eagle, but then I have a Kimber as well, and I have 4 other guns. I have a Smith & Wesson, and we have some ARs and stuff like that. But that's just because of my husband. We have 4 safes full.
You have Smith & Wesson revolver? Or...
No, not a revolver. It's actually one that I got from the gunsmith he was selling it, and to this day it's Cerakoted like a Tiffany blue, and I call her Tiffany. So I have my Kimber and I call her Kimberly, and I have this other one, and it's a 40 caliber.
That's
Smith
awesome.
& Wesson, and it's small. I can't, it's not very big, and it's small, and I love it. And we have a shooting range up the street. We go all the time, and I love it. But I think it's because of that experience in itself, but the way the police made me feel and how some of these people are attacking her it just kind of like resonated with me on how don't jump to conclusions until you know the full story. But here, the police made me feel like I was not being truthful. And when the results came back from the lie detector test, and they said, they went, ma'am, you know what, your daughter is being truthful. Let's go ahead and get this going. So there's police report. Let's look. Do I think they did their due diligence? No.
Was the person never caught the guy or anything?
No, they never caught the guy.
I bet he's already been arrested somewhere else. They just never connected to something like that.
That's what my husband said.
Yeah.
And he says, I don't think this was his first time doing that. But I don't. He said, because somebody he left his keys in the car. He's like, Stephanie, I think, what frame of mind was I in that I actually looked? And to this day, I don't know what possessed me to look over to try and turn the key to unlock the door and get out and run. Or where would he have taken me? Yeah. Where would I be? They found the car abandoned in, it's called the city of Mission Viejo, which is about 30 minutes here from my home. Because I was able to give them the first 4 of the license plate.
Oh, wow. Good job.
So, thank you. So they did find the car. The owner of the car was not, obviously, the car was stolen. So, I don't know what happened. We left it at that. We never went back and dwelled on it. It was kind of just like, you didn't get hurt, you're safe, harden up, let's go, let's keep moving on. I have a child, I need, life is life, and I need to move on. Now, this is nothing compared to what has happened here. But the thing is of that feeling where people make you feel like you've done something
I don't know.
wrong.
I wouldn't diminish your. I wouldn't say it's nothing like what happened here. I think what happened to you is worse, actually, in some ways than happened to Bethany and Dylan, because they were in their rooms and they heard things, and then they, one of them saw somebody. But you were actually physically removed from the house, put into a car, and driven somewhere where you're probably just scared out of your mind. Petrified.
I was new to the neighborhood, but I remember looking at him like, what do you want from me? He didn't assault me. But he did, leave a mark on my face from when he tied the handkerchief into my mouth, and he tied it so tight, and he tied it in a knot, but then he kept his between his index finger and his thumb in my mouth, and I couldn't bite him, and I was trying to bite him and fight him off, and he had to literally drag me out of the house. This is why there was dirt left in the front, and in the front walkway of the home, because it was quite a walkway from the front door to the driveway, and his car was actually parked out in the street, not in the actual driveway.
And nobody saw anything either. That sucks.
Nobody saw anything because it was during the day. Everybody was at work. Nobody saw anything. Cameras weren't a thing back then. And nobody saw anything. And I literally, like the cop, when he came in, he made the report and everything. He just kept looking at me like, let's go down to the station. I think we need to give you a polygraph. And I didn't even know. I thought, what's a polygraph? I thought it was some sort of EKG or something like that.
Well, it's sort of like that, right? I mean, a little bit. They put all those wires on you. But,
So, that's my story. That's it.
Well, thanks
I
for
love your
telling.
channel.
Well, thanks. Yeah.
And I plan on being here. Like I said, I just discovered you. Last week, I was going through some of this stuff, and I've been working, but you're going to see me a lot more often. And I love your style. I love your channel. I love your demeanor. And I really, really am not trying to blow smoke. I just like people who are genuine, honest, and don't deal with BS like other channels do. And like you said of the lady, your sentence doesn't your statement doesn't make any sense. There's other channels that'll, they just like they coddle the people and allow them to do
funny,
this.
yeah.
And it's like, don't waste my time for other people who have something meaningful to say. This is an intelligent conversation. If you can't handle that, then go to another channel where they're going to coddle and spoon feed you.
Well, there you go. Yeah, 'cause
But
I think they're all concerned.
it's not going to happen here.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, I guess, the thing is those guys sometimes benefit because they get way more viewers because they'll accept anything, and people will go, yeah, hey, they'll say something ridiculous. I haven't thought of that. That's an interesting idea, and they'll spend 10 minutes talking about something that's absolutely not possible nor happened. But they got that person to be a sub because they accepted that. And I'm okay losing people who get offended because I didn't accept their crazy idea. That's just the way it is.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had to have my husband watch all the episodes of the Kohberger. He's like, man, this guy's a genius. I love him, Steph.
Oh, come
like,
on.
Where'd you find him?
No.
Where'd you find him?
No
and
way.
I said, you know what? I was just one of those nights where I couldn't sleep, and I was just flipping through, and I found him, and he stuck to me flies on you know what. And I just kept going and going and going and going, and then he was just hitting bullet point after bullet point after bullet point, and knocking everybody down and saying, yeah, okay. And my husband's like, this is what I love. This is a man. This is a man.
Wow.
And I said, yeah, exactly. He's like a man who tells the truth and who does the truth. And he's like, don't give super chats to people who, you just want to ask a dumb question. He's like, you know what? This guy does good. And he is legit, the real thing.
Well,
he
thank
said,
you.
so we're going to contribute and stand, he goes, and keep watching. So I came home, I turned you on, and I was like, oh my God, he's on,
And you called in and you had a crazy story. That was amazing. Yeah.
It was, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, let me try, let me try, see if I get through. And I want to tell him, sometimes people just don't get not the recognition or, not that you're seeking that or anything, but, the truth is the truth all day long. And some people are just afraid to just really, like you said, tell the truth.
I mean, it's sort of interesting because I've been on court TV 4 times and then a documentary, but it doesn't really ever translate. People don't realize, wow, he must be on there for a reason. I mean, 4 different cases I've been on court TV.
Oh, yes,
but
my husband is the one who saw you. He said, this is the same guy. Oh my God, you just triggered my memory. He said, this is the same guy that I believe, I don't know, it's court TV, something, and they didn't give you a lot of time to talk, he said. He's like, this guy should have been given a lot more time to talk. Yeah,
that clip when they put it out on YouTube got one of their highest views that it ever had. I think it was me describing the loops that the Elantra was doing at 500 Queen Road.
Mm-hmm.
So. And
he saw it, and then that's when, 2 and 2 equals 4, and he's like, oh my God, okay, he's like, I didn't know this was the guy though. And I said, no, and he just marinated it, and he watched it over and over and over, and just the mapping, Google, map, and everything that you did, he's like, this guy's fantastic.
Well, thanks. It's cool hearing that from a police officer,
So and we love your dogs. We have 3 dogs, and we love your dogs.
What kind do you have? Probably big ones.
We have Shar-Peis.
What's that?
We have 3 Shar-Peis.
Oh, Shar-Peis. They have the wrinkly skin, right?
The wrinkly skin, yeah.
They're cute.
Very high maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really cute. Yeah, I'll have to send you a picture of them one day. They're phenomenal. They're really good dogs, but we didn't want anything like a Rottweiler or a Pit Bull or someone who's going to maul us to death.
Yeah.
Right. If they decide to turn on us. So But anyways,
Like a pit bull?
thank you for being you, and thank you
Well,
for
thank
being
you.
so honest, and thank you for doing what you do. And again, you will see us, and we are going to donate like crazy. And I promise you that.
Okay. Well, you don't have to, but thank you. I appreciate it.
No,
That's very
no,
kind.
but we want to because it goes to a good cause.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well,
Thank you so much.
Thanks for
It
the
was a
story.
pleasure.
All right. Yep. All right. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Wow. No, that was her name is Stephanie, right? Is that right? Or Steph? Wow, that made me feel good. I was like, wow. So come on, you guys, help support the channel. Look at it right now. We're still not even at the goal. All right? You guys can do it. We can, the first night of the new month, can we get to the goal, you guys, and then some? Get a good start for the month going here. We do have 314 people watching. Should be pretty easy. Wouldn't you say? And no, I didn't pay her to call in to say that. Fitz, I hesitated to stab my sister's ex-boyfriend when he was kidnapped her. Yes. So if you're out there and you can afford it, please help support my channel. We do a lot of great things with it. That also allows me to make an income on the channel. You guys are the sole source of the income when I do my live streams. Thank you. So we've had some great calls tonight. Is there another one right here? What's this one? Not sure. Is this something? Oh wait, that's the last one. It'll take somebody else to start it. Whenever I say anything now, nobody does anything. So if somebody out there wants to help support the channel and maybe start a wave, that'd be great. Because you guys have turned a deaf ear when I say something. I've noticed that the last month or so. Alright, so that's it. Who's calling in next? Let's hear the next story. There's one right there. Mad as a cut snake. They actually count when you're in the 20s? Look at that. Let's celebrate their 20th super on a live stream. That's a wave of supporting the channel. Lady Die too. Just like that. Mad as a cut snake. The channel, every single night we raise money to help support the channel, and at the end of the month I donate a lot of the money that the channel makes to charity, as you should have learned by listening to the entire last phone call, but you must have missed that. Wow. Jesus, how embarrassing. Thank you, Kathy Chapin. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think, can't you tell by just listening to some of these phone calls that it's not that crazy what happened here? I can just tell you from my own experience that I've had in my own life that I totally empathize with Dylan Mortensen right there. Okay? I really do, and both of them really. I don't know what Bethany Funk really heard. I mean, she might not have heard anywhere near as much as Dylan did. And that's why maybe Dylan was a little bit more scared. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Bethany Funk actually went back to sleep at some point. I don't know, but I know the walls are thin, so people likely heard something. Thank you, Allie Cake, and thank you for calling in and telling that story, Allie Cake. I know it was probably hard for you, but I think it was interesting, and yeah, you're amazing how you got out of that. Yeah, we've given $82,000 so far to a DNA fund, and that fund is identifying Jane and John Does. Let's see. Oh yeah, there was an update. Remember the person found in a it was like in a sewer. There was flesh of a human found in a sewer. That one turns out that they only got like 26 centimorgans, and it turns out it was a Vietnamese female. So there really isn't a way to do genetic genealogy on it at this point. So I was thinking, though, why don't they do a public service announcement in the area and just say, are there any missing, Vietnamese women in this area in the last few years? Please come forward, and then do some testing on people that come forward and see if they're related to that person. That's about the only way to do it. So that one's probably not going to make it anywhere. And we're almost at the goal there. You see that, you guys? We're 10 short. Yeah, I mean, why not do that? Because I don't think it's that old, the flesh. It sounds ridiculous to call it that, but turns out it was from a female Vietnamese woman. So why not have the news articles say, this is disturbing information, but there were body parts found. Well, don't even say that. Just if you know anybody that was a Vietnamese woman in this area that has gone missing in the last 3 years, please contact us. And don't give any other details about it. You don't want to scare people off. Just say that. I don't think we have any information on that one yet, Daphne. I also think a lot of people that are questioning and want to, they sort of have a blaming attitude, need to just check themselves into a facility, really. It's ridiculous. Hello.
Hey, how you guys doing? You able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
All right, great.
Do you have a story to tell?
First, I want to... Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. First, I wanted to thank you for your for doing what you do.
Well, thank you.
Just wanted to share that as far as the suspicion and as far as a story, so actually I've dormed in college. I've been to several different campuses, some off-campus housing.
Can I ask who what your name is? What's your name, if you want to say it? We don't know. You just started.
Oh, Charles. Yeah,
Charles?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
Charles.
That's me, Charles.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay.
So I've been in several, situations where whether it was a fraternity, sorority, or just friends hanging out, or even in our own townhouse, we were there. It was 6 of us, and most of the housing that I've been to, whether it's on campus or off campus, wasn't really the best construction. Kind of thin walls. You can kind of hear most things. And I've been in several situations where guys maybe get a little bit drunk, or even females, and there's maybe a scuffle or something, or maybe certain couples are in a fight and yelling at each other, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things that I'm sad and kind of I think it was a mistake for the defense for the house to be knocked down, because would be really good to to be able to go in there as far as the jury and just see what the house's construction is like.
Yeah, I think they do these scans
No.
now. There, I think that's the house became too. It was like a biohazard, and it was there for a long time. And they do these scans, Faro scans, where you're basically in the same, looks exactly the same, everything's the same. And they'll still be able to bring people over and say, yeah, that was like you were. This is the hill you walked down, and just show people pictures. I mean, it's just, to me, it's one of those things. But that part isn't even what we were discussing. We were discussing like an instance where something, like if you had something had happened to you that made you freeze or something like that.
Yeah. No, so I was getting to that part.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so there was an instance once I went to a party, and altercation broke out, and somebody had gotten into a fight with somebody else, et cetera. And everybody starts, running and kind of getting out, and it was funny because I seen the two gentlemen that had gotten into a scuffle, and one of them, I guess, had gotten stabbed or cut or sliced, whatever the case is. And not that I froze, but meaning it was more like everybody was concerned with getting out. Nobody was concerned with calling the police. Everybody was concerned with finding out exactly what actually happened. Just in general, the kind of vibe was not really to call the police. Like, nobody wanted to be the person, as they call, snitch or rat out or be the tattletale, I guess. And I should understand, if I know we don't have all of the information around this case and who was there and who wasn't there in the morning or sometime around the night or between the hours where the person there was, in shock, whatever the case is, Dylan. But I can just say that I wouldn't be surprised, just through my experience and my exposure to college students and, myself being when I was a college student living on campus. Usually that's kind of like the vibe, and especially with in some Greek life, some Greek organizations, you really don't want to be that person, calling, and then you create a bigger mess or get blamed for it. So I know this is more of a serious situation, and when it's about life and death, that should all go out the window. But I can still tell you that I really wouldn't be surprised if some people are maybe trying to hide something, or we don't know at least all of the facts as to
but they've already we don't know we don't know the facts, but they've already investigated both Dylan and Bethany, and with the FBI and the Idaho State Police and the everybody's looked into them and found nothing.
No, of course. Yeah, of course. So I'm not even saying. So again, that's the whole point. I'm not even saying those two individuals. I mean, like, if there were other people there, whether it was that morning or sometime in between, whatever the case is, that it's more of a thing of everybody, kind of stay low key, stay, quiet. Don't volunteer.
Yeah, like some people might have shown up before and were like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is
right.
maybe I guess it's like, well, okay, so a good example would be when I was in a fraternity. My brother actually died in the fraternity, and then they had this chapter meeting, and they were like, hey, everybody say, you got to say this and you got to say that, because I think he did coke or something, and then hours later his heart started beating funny or something, and it was just weird. But they tried to all cover it up together, like in one sort of like a conspiring behind the scene to, I see what you're saying.
That's absolutely what I'm
not the crime, but like the aftermath part, like you're
correct.
It's not like there's anything. It's just sort of like we like damage control, like, oh wow, look what happened here, we see this, but if you have any drugs in your room, I mean, there's a possibility that something like that happened. Like, hurry up and get those things out, then we'll call the police because they're going to do an investigation. They might find that you have pot and stuff, and I mean, who the hell knows?
Right. Right. Well, even in my situation, as far as that story in that situation, you know, when people usually, especially in that type of housing, when you hear, like, you can typically tell the difference between, you know, your housemates joking around, you know, maybe, you know, wrestling, maybe the dog, you know, you can definitely tell the difference between those sounds, you know what I mean? And then in that situation where you heard the stomps, you heard the walls vibrate, you heard the louder voices, you heard the I guess the banging on like the wall from maybe elbows, shoulders being thrown from like the fight, the scuffle. So it's definitely a unique sound, you know, people tussling for real, you know, fighting for real, or maybe struggling. Maybe
so she probably freaked out. She probably heard it and was kind of like, and then somebody walks by and then she was like, oh my God, and then shuts her door. And then I think she spent the whole rest of the night just not wanting to see the what actually happened.
But that's what I'm trying to. But that's what I'm trying to say, because you also have to think about the context of you know when you're in that housing, and if you were somebody who actually dormed, did you actually dorm or?
I was in a dorm and a fraternity house.
Oh, okay, yeah. So when you were in like the frat house, you kind of knew, you know, especially 4 o'clock in like the morning, you know, you guys had whatever your like code was. I mean, you didn't know exactly where everybody was at all times, because a lot of people go in and out. But you kind of know the tendencies, and there's some consideration sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning, unless there's a party going on, it's kind of died down a little bit. Maybe people hanging out in their rooms, and you know the tendencies, you know. So you all of a sudden start to hear something crazy upstairs, something crazy, you know, on your same floor.
Yeah, well, she says that she heard
usual,
stuff.
You know what I mean?
That's why she stepped out of her room 3 different times. She heard sounds.
Correct.
She stepped out of her room. She listened, but then she went back in, and the only thing she saw was him when he was leaving. But she just froze as the door was just cracked open, and he walked by and left. And then I think she locked her door and then shut it, and then just sat in there, probably like, oh God, something bad probably happened. I'm not really sure. She doesn't want to see it though. She doesn't want to go look at it. She didn't, you know.
Sure, but I mean, yeah, right. But in this phone, you know, I mean, so my whole thing is the time, like the time frame, because again, in 3, you know, I'm sure you've done presentations. Clearly, we know you've done presentations, and I remember being in a public speaking class, and them, you know, saying, okay, you have to do a 3-minute presentation, but only 3 minutes, and you're like, oh, three minutes, that's, you know, nothing, until you actually try to, you know, do the presentation, and you realize 3 minutes is a long time to talk.
Yeah, well, 9 minutes is how long the murders took. 9 minutes is the window. 12 minutes total. Like at 4:08, the car got behind the house, and then it's leaving at 4:20 at a high rate of speed. So it parks at 4:08. Right. Probably did some prep stuff so that the car isn't going to get blood in it and so forth. So I would say got into the house by, 4:10, and then maybe leaves the house at 4:18 or so, and then changes out of stuff, gets in his car, and then boom, he's out of there. So an 8-minute window, maybe 9, something like that at the most.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, think about last time you had to do, a 5-minute presentation. And again, it's just it's a long, like when nothing's happening, you're not distracted, it's a long time. As far as you just waiting there doing nothing, listening.
Well, I do 3-hour shows every single night, so I mean, 3 minutes to me would seem like a second. Okay, I mean, it would seem like a second. Yeah.
Right. Well, but anyways, I just wanted to call in just to share that portion of it. Oh, and I'll share one other story. So I actually worked in the emergency room as a nurse for several years. And one of the other things that, I've seen many patients come in, trauma rooms, stabbing, shooting, females with heels in their chest, so many different types of injuries, fractured femurs from people trying to, get away from cops and jumping off, ledge onto the floor, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the other things that is very interesting that I think that only during this situation you would kind of be able to conceptualize a little better is, it appears that everybody thinks that you should and I don't mean to be graphic, but you should get stabbed, or you get cut, you get sliced, or somebody's aggressively attacking you with a knife, and it's kind of like the movies where, you get one puncture and then, the person's like, oh my God, it's the end. And, it's nothing like that. I've had people come in multiple stab wounds, and they're walking in holding their wounds. I mean, whether it's in the face, the neck, the back, usually. So I just want people to understand that it's not like a guy goes in like a ninja, and it's it's just quick, swift, and then he's out of there. It's something where, that's what I'm saying. As far as the sounds, as far as people yelling or tussling, I think it was a very unique environment. If it went down the way that the narrative is being told that it likely went down.
Yeah, I'm not. See, my thing
having
is
a very hard time.
I'm not having a hard time at all. I actually believe exactly how it went down. Bryan Kohberger went in there. He stalked them for a long time. He came in. It's a really small house. Everyone acts like it's really complicated. It's not complicated at all. You walk into the kitchen. You go out of the kitchen. Oh, wow, there's stairs there. That must be the stairs that goes upstairs to the room that I keep watching them in. Goes upstairs. There's only 2 doors up there. There's 3, but one's a bathroom. And 2 go into the rooms. And he goes in there and kills them. And then on the way out, I think, it's possible he went there to kill all 4 of the women that lived there at the time. And that Kaylee and Ethan changed things up a little bit, and he had to fight with Xana too, but Ethan wasn't even supposed to be there. So it just created some things, and I gotta get the hell out of here, right? So we don't really know if he went there just to kill Madison or if he went there, but the truth is he didn't kill Dylan and Bethany, and they are survivors, and they have nothing to do with Bryan Kohberger. They're not connected to him in any way, shape, or form. They aren't drug dealers for Bryan Kohberger. These are just 2 girls that survived because they got lucky. That's it. And
I'm not discrediting.
And they didn't call police because they just didn't. It's just kind of the way it is.
So I'm not really, I'm not really trying to, I'm not trying to make believe like I know what happened or try to discredit, or disagree or agree with what actually happened. All that I'm saying is that what makes this complex is that there was just 4 people in there, and Bryan Kohberger went in there, did what he did allegedly, and then left. Completely understandable.
Well,
I think that where it gets a little murky.
He did do it. That's why his DNA was on the knife shelf up in that room.
Sure. Okay, sure. Let's say he did. It's fine. But what makes it murky? What makes it murky? Again, I'm not on any side of the fence. I'm not on the yes, I'm on the no side. I'm just trying to be unbiased. What makes it murky is, this happened, and I just want people to understand that it's not just because you know how easily you say, oh, she went in there, kill these 2 people, kill 2 people, and then I left. No, but there's agonizing, there's sound, there's a lot. It's and you even say yourself, it's not that big of a house, so that even leans more to the point that potentially the roommates had to hear something that's unusual. And maybe agonizing, it's not just, again, it's not like the movies.
Yeah, I mean, I think they heard yelling and maybe screaming and crying and things like that.
Of course.
Yep. And they just,
so that's what I'm saying. So that would,
I don't know, did you listen to all those other calls? See, some people just react differently. And I even read the thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you hear the part where I read through how she described what she went through to a friend, and then I read it? Yes. I mean, again, right? Everybody reacts different. Again, I was just sharing with you guys just another perspective from somebody who worked in the emergency room, somebody who's been around scuffles and seen people come in, stabbed, walking still, or in a stretcher, even on an ambulance, they're still conscious. All I'm saying is that it's not as easy, number one, to execute somebody with a knife, but it absolutely can be done 100%. It's just that it's not so simple in 8 minutes, and then there's no noise, there's no nothing. There's it's not like a ninja. It's not like a fiction. It's not simple, but you can imagine when you have 2 girls that are drunk upstairs. He probably killed Madison almost instantly, and then Kaylee was like, "Well, what's going on?" And then she got killed probably pretty quickly, but she tried to block herself. But they're drunk, right? And then you go downstairs and you have 2 other drunk people. See, everyone always forgets the part where it's 4 a.m, they're sleeping and they're drunk. It's a little different than at noon and everybody's wide awake and they see what's coming, and then there's a battle going on. This is way late at night, and they'd been out drinking, and so that's why I say it could have been done way quicker than 9 minutes. I think it could have been 6 minutes. When you watch my, I did a 9 minutes of hell video. It's called, where you just sit there and it goes through just that timing. He comes in, and you're just waiting so excruciatingly long. 3 minutes sitting there waiting, watching in the Madison Mogen's room. Then you go downstairs, and you give 3 minutes to Xana, and then 3 minutes again to Ethan, and it just takes forever. I mean,
a long time. Yeah, it's a long time. Yeah, that was my initial point with the presentation.
It's too much time.
3 minutes is a long time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But then you said that how it'd be hard to get it done. Somebody actually typed in the other day.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, what I meant to say, not that it's hard to get it done. What I mean to say, it's hard to silence, 4 people is what I'm saying. Even if they're drunk, a guy drunk, I'm not sure if you drink, but I definitely have been, drunk. And again, it's not like you're cutting off the person's voice box. I mean, you get stabbed,
he killed him.
Get stabbed, 10 times in 5 seconds. You're still gonna say, "Oh my God," oh my God.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I mean, they're gonna be able to make sound when you're. They don't instantly not be able to scream or yell or something at least once.
Exactly. I think that people, when people hear, "Oh yeah, he killed this person," it's kind of like people are thinking like, "Okay, that person's incapacitated."
Yeah, well, that's why she came out of her room 3 times.
With our viewers,
she came out of her room 3 times because she heard stuff. I think it was a little bit more than they put in the probable cause document.
Right. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. So. But again, hey man, thank you, man. I just wanted to call in and just give that perspective. Give another caller, some opportunity. Again.
You kept me on my toes. Charles. You kept me.
Yeah. Hey. So like I said, just giving you a little bit of a perspective. And I'm sorry, I didn't have. I heard some of the amazing stories from the other callers and very inspiring, stories and very sad ones. But it's nice for people to have a forum to share their stories. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Charles, thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All righty. Thank you.
All right. That's what it always feels like, though, whenever you're in that thing, that is sort of leading to that there should have been some, All right. And somebody up there said that, what is it? Man, you guys aren't even typing anything. Upstairs, up above, where it says something about Steve Goncalves said he didn't have to go upstairs. That doesn't mean anything, you guys. It doesn't mean that he went upstairs because it just means that he went upstairs. Saying he didn't have to go upstairs. I mean, I guess you can imply that he went upstairs to attack them, and I agree with it. I think the target's Madison Mogen myself. Because that's the window that you could sit there and watch. Kaylee's is kind of around the other side of the house that you would have to be kind of parked way back in the parking area. And then you could kind of get a glimpse of a sort of a angle of her window. So Madison Mogen's room, you could say he didn't have to go upstairs. But if he went into the house to kill all 4 people, let's say, then he would go upstairs. So he would start upstairs. Because you wouldn't want to kill people downstairs, have somebody discover it, and then you get trapped upstairs. So he would go upstairs and kill first, then come down, and then go to other rooms. But, it's kind of I'd like to really know what law enforcement thinks based on the blood evidence in terms of the order. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we need to get some more stories. Does anybody else have any stories that have happened to you where you were in a scary situation, even if it turned out to be real or not, that you were scared and frozen for a while? Anybody? Anybody at all? I feel like the guy in the movie The Day After. Remember the nuclear bomb movie? He got on the radio right at the end and he said, "Is there anybody out there? Anybody at all?" I'm sure I have other ones. I mean, so it's strange, right? Like I had the Bigfoot one, but then later in life I did the thing where somebody told me to get in their car, and I just ran as fast as I could. I didn't even know who these people were. And then I had the other one where, you know, I was telling you about in school. That was after that, where, you know, I sort of had these couple of these bullies that I always thought they were, you know, I just wouldn't do anything. And then one day I just slammed one against a locker and said, you know, and then they never did it again. Then, what else? There's got to be other times. I don't know. Can't think of any. Well, seems to kind of died down in here anyways. So I think that's going to do it, you guys. I don't really have much more to discuss. I think that Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funke are just two college students who were living in this house, and all their friends got murdered, and they didn't act the way some of you wanted them to react in terms of calling 911, but you would have found something else wrong with them. Even if they'd called 911, you would have said, oh, how come they didn't do, you know, if they called an hour later, you'd say, why did they call an hour later? If they called 2 hours, oh my God, why did they wait 2 hours? It's just, it doesn't really matter. People just want to find something, all right? So, yeah, there's all kinds of cases like that, Jojo. Yeah, so in this case, they didn't call, and they just didn't call. And what does it see that kind of a comment when you say, any other cases that are like this and people didn't call too? So that means you want to, like, at that point, you're in that mode of trying to say that there's something else that's nefarious going on. You see? Because what if there aren't any? It doesn't matter, right? I'm just saying. I mean, come on. That's what it's saying, though, right? Like, it's going down that route. I don't know. If you can find some, I mean, look it up. Somebody didn't call 911. Okay, I see what you're saying. You're just saying, are there any other cases that you can compare to, like the people calling in, right? But nobody's calling in, so if you can find one, let me know. I'm sure there's a million of them. In fact, we just had a caller that had one, right? Remember that? Somebody called in that said that they didn't call 911. That was Steph when she called in, right? Yeah, well, I'm not sure how to do it. I'm not sure how to look that up. Oh, there it is. Hello. Who's this?
This is Sheila. I'm Vibes.
Sheila?
Yeah, and I'll turn off my YouTube too.
There you go.
I feel like I'm echoing. There we go. Butcha.
Yeah, what's your YouTube name?
Vibes Off Today.
That's what it's Vibes Off Today?
Yeah, it's just a silly thing, but my name's Sheila.
Oh, okay.
And I wasn't going to call, but then I was like, you know what? I didn't realize how comparable, like, my situation was to DMs, because I wasn't thinking about it till I had heard the other callers. So it was like, well, my daughter's 11 now, so it was 10 years ago, and my ex-husband was drinking a lot, and so he had, like, found my phone or whatever, and I had the phone with me the whole time, and I didn't even think about it until tonight when I was listening to the other callers. Like, at any point I could have called 911, but he had seen some pictures of me and, like, a male coworker, and it was, like, innocent or whatever, but he had been drinking a lot, and he was coming after me, so I had locked myself in the room. And the whole night I could hear him trying to get into the room. And then we had our 1-year-old daughter. She's 11 now. She was in the room next to us. And well, he wasn't in the room. He was in, like, the hallway and, like, the, living room area. And he had been drinking a ton. So I was just waiting for him to pass out and, like, listening for no more, like, sound or whatever. So I could feel safe enough to get me and my daughter out of the house. And, like, I got the car keys, I got my daughter, and I didn't call the cops. It wasn't until he threatened to take my life again that it's almost like I had so much trauma that I just, like, pushed it down and didn't want to remember it at all.
And so you didn't call 911 that night?
No, not that. It wasn't until like I went over to, so me and my daughter stayed at one of my coworkers' houses. Her name was Summer or whatever. And I just remember just being like awake the whole entire night, just trying to think of like what had just happened, because there was a gun outside the bedroom and a knife. And so like, I just think like if he had gotten in, he did end up going to jail, and for it. And I mean, he got off like pretty good. It was like 10 days in jail and like 30 days work release or something like that. But I didn't even fight it in court because of like the trauma that I had from it. Because I met him when I was 13, and the last time, like, you know, after I walked out with my daughter or whatever, it was like that was it. We were just done, and I was 26, so it was hard for me to believe. So I think that part's a little bit different why I didn't call. But yeah, I didn't think about it till today. I was like, you know what? I had my phone with me the whole entire time, and I called nobody. I just got out of the house and then went to a coworker's. I think, you know, I wonder if
did you just
Dylan
not
has
think
like
of it,
trauma.
or did you just not think of it, or what?
I just didn't even think of it. I just was totally frozen.
No, it
wasn't until like
you were getting out of there.
Oh,
though.
sorry.
Like you were moving, but you're just saying like you were sort of a zombie kind of almost, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. It's crazy.
So I mean,
that's so weird. So what were you gonna say about Dylan? You think she is?
Oh, I can see how like she might have gone into that, like, same with me, just lock herself in the room until she felt safe enough to come out, until it was quiet enough, you know, like, because I mean, I was in that room like a zombie for hours probably. I just needed to know it was safe to get out of there, and I don't even remember what I was thinking or what was going on in my head. I just remember just waiting for it to be safe enough for me to get my daughter and get out of the house.
Yeah, I would imagine she, at minimum, waited till there was light to even start considering.
Yes.
And then she was probably like, do I even want to exit the room? Because if I do, I might see what I envision maybe happened, you know?
Yes, and it did happen, and you know it's happening, but you don't, your body goes into like a response where it's like, it's almost so traumatic that your brain can't even process what is going on in that moment.
Yeah. That is weird. I mean, it's so weird. 'Cause I remember, like, when, again, after my brother died, I went to the hospital, and I remember just sitting there. I remember people around me, but I don't remember anything else because I was in this weird zombie land mode in my head.
Yes.
And then the doctor comes out with, you know, the classic stethoscopes and said, yeah, we just couldn't. And I remember just sort of, at that moment, just kind of busting through the emergency room doors, and I just kind of walked around like a zombie till I found him. But I don't remember anything else other than that part. Like, I found him, and I just sort of said goodbye or something. I mean, it was weird, you know. But
it is weird, and unless you've been in that situation, I don't think people know what it feels like. You know, it's so easy to be like, well, why didn't you just call 911? It's like, well, you don't know unless you've been put into that situation what it feels like. And like, I felt really bad for Dylan and Bethany. Like, I hope that they're getting counseling before the trial too, because I am sure that they have trauma that nobody understands, and I feel for those two roommates a lot, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's just amazing. I mean, I don't know why people just can't accept it, that they're just not the way you would be. So there's people I guess I'm fortunate to have had a few of those weird times in my life, like when I was saying when I was a kid, where I can totally picture it. But if you aren't that, maybe you're just not able to comprehend it, so you just can't accept it. So you just kind of, you know, it's always a question, always something. This is one of the things I think about the least in the case. I hardly ever the only time I ever think of Dylan and Bethany and anything related to them is when somebody else says, why do you think they waited so long? And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, but the thing is, but it's important to know, you know, like, that this happens, you know. It happens to people. That's it. Got something in my
Yeah,
throat.
and it's crazy to see how many like people have called in, and it's like it like triggered a memory. I was like, oh my gosh, I had something like that happen to me, and I didn't even realize how similar it was until it's like you had said the empathy part or whatever, and I wondered like why I've always had that empathy for Dylan or whatever. I've been like, I get it, I know why she. And then today it was like, oh, I know why she felt that way, because I had the same thing, not the same thing, but like I was in that moment in the locked bedroom just waiting, and it was waiting for daylight, because I remember it was like the whole night I was up in that like zombie state, and it's like that's it right there, waiting for the daylight. You hit the nail on the head right there.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So, I appreciate your channel, and you are awesome, so thank you so much.
Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it. Call
You're
in again
welcome.
sometime.
Bye.
All right, see you. Bye.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, look at these morons in here. Jesus. She saw a masked, bushy eyebrowed guy in the house after the screaming, then naps for 8 hours. Great friend. What a loser. God, you are a piece of crap. Good Lord. You gotta be kidding me. She naps? Nobody was napping. Okay? You're just as bad, Lady Di, too. Just as bad. Yeah, we got the idiot trolls coming over from the UK YouTube channel, who's going to be an absolute embarrassment of a person once the facts of this case come out. And the clown, okay? You guys that watch them religiously, like you, Ginza Nuna, you're going to be ashamed of yourselves when this is all said and done. You guys are an embarrassment. All right? Thank you. All right, so who else is calling in tonight? Yeah, go ahead. Remove those idiots. I don't want people like that anywhere near my channel. Their brains don't work right. Don't worry about it. Get rid of Lady Di too. Get rid of Ginza Nuna. Yeah. All right. See you later. Have a nice time. It's like you see something you can't see. Right. I know. It's just I just don't have any patience for people like that. They were dead. They weren't. Nobody was living from what Kohberger did. Yeah. Yeah, and that's why my channel is smaller, because I don't accept it. Can't deal with it. All right, so let's try to find something like Zozo was looking for. I wonder if we can, what would we look up on newspapers.com? Like, how about just didn't call 911 and put quotes around it, and then maybe that would show up something. All right, let's see. I didn't immediately call 911. What's this? Incident was misrepresented. Saturday night, there was an article in the news about said incident. Sheriff, he couldn't understand why I didn't immediately call 911, and my wife didn't call 911 when I called her about it approximately 3 hours later. I didn't call 911 because I was on my way to work and I felt the incident was over. Not all of us can come and go as we please in the world. I mean, it wasn't exactly related, but, let's see what this one is. Dad didn't call 911, took baby to ER. Not sure what that one is. How about too scared to call 911? Oh, that's the one right there. Kitty Genovese. Where do we find that? What year is that one, Zozo? I was too scared to move. Oh, wow. Holy shit. Let's go. Look at this one right here. The gunfire shattered the nerves of Bobby McGaffey, whose second-floor apartment on Ash Street overlooks the crime scene. I was too scared to move, too scared to call 911, said the 31-year-old mother of 5 children. Haunted by the memory of once seeing a corpse, McGaffey said, the shots this morning were a reminder that the world can be a dangerous place. There you go. There's one. All right. Hey, look at that. Newspapers.com, mofos. Yeah. Come on. All right, I'll type that name in. Kitty Genovese. How come I've heard that before? This is 1984, right? The neighbors knew each other. Violence has touched at least one other of Kitty Geneve's neighbors, Madeline Hartman. I don't know what happened in this one. I've heard her name before. It's weird. Have we covered that? What's a keyword to look up? I want to just read the part that we're referring to. I don't know. What's the part that actually discusses how she froze or whatever? Oh, none of her neighbors called for help. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's weird how that happens a lot. People turn a blind eye because they don't want to know what happened either. That's another thing. Because once you insert yourself, you now have to deal with the horrors. But if you can not see it and stay disconnected, you don't have to feel it quite as much. You know? I think that's exactly what's going on here. Now everyone else assumes and nobody else did. Huh, that's interesting. That's kind of similar, you know. Let's see if there's anything like frozen fear for hours or something. Is that going to show up somewhere? The driver to my right had the look of a crazed killer on his face. I don't know what look was on my face. I couldn't pull the mirror down because I was frozen in fear. Rush hour safety in Salt Lake City was tendency to these things too. The poor fellow next to us probably had spent many hours in this mess and had good reason to be nearing the end of his rope. I'm not sure what the hell they're talking about there, but oh yeah, under the bed. Yeah, I can see that. So that's what I'm sort of looking for, you know. Is like it's not as uncommon as people want to try to make this kind of stuff out to be. It's sort of a protective mechanism, to be honest with you. That's like once you see or start interacting, calling 911, etc., you're then sort of admitting and agreeing that there's something really horrible that just happened, and you then you see it and you're part of it. Man, we just hit one of those massive lulls again. We are now 2 hours and 50 minutes in, but that's probably about all the show's going to be anyways. Let me look around for some more. What would be another one? How about frozen in fear? Just like that. sure what that is. Sounds like a boxing. All for not hold up nets. She said she handed him 10 singles and that he took the money in one hand and brandished a snub-nosed revolver in the other, saying, "Give me all your money and hurry up." Miss Fopp said she was so terrified she couldn't move, but finally started to press the alarm button. She said the bandit stopped by her saying, "Don't move," then apparently lost the nerve and fled. Doesn't sound like, it's not really a similar one. Huh? I don't, how far do I have to go up above? Oh, Richard Speck, yeah, I remember seeing that. He killed the nurses in the Chicago apartments, right? Did they even have 911 back in 1960 something? Now, is this horror comes in many versions for neglected kids. A 13-year-old girl's dog kept her father from raping her. He came into my room one night and he was really drunk. He sat on my bed and went inside her pants, and it says, "I was terrified, I couldn't move, Dad," you know. So this is the thing. That thing is, look at that. I mean, and we had that story we were just going over. Did you guys the one that we're doing right now, what the hell was it? Just a second. It's the Madeline Soto. That thing is just got really crazy really fast. Did you guys even follow that today? They found her body, then the arrest warrant came out, and he had taken pictures of Madeline Soto, the boyfriend of her mother. I showed you the interview last night, and man, he was taking pictures of them, you know, engaging in sexual activity, and it was on his phone. And she never even made it to school. It's ridiculous. I mean, that whole story is one of the worst ones I've ever heard. Incredible, really. So I guess nobody else is going to call in tonight. We had so many good stories in that post. I was hoping some of them would call in too. Nah, I can't afford to do it now. We're just dead as a doornail, and I might come back on later tonight. Maybe do a late show or something related to it. But this is, you can see we've frozen in fear. Yeah. So, anyways. Thank you for being here tonight. We've already got 3 hours under the books. Thank you to the Broken Scout, who without that we've only made 60% of it. K-Me, Sirius Black, Peter Morning, Front 1103, Cindy Leon, 43 months. Look at that. Rhea Mazzarone, 35. Cindy Leon, the Broken Scout, Kathy Chapin, Rhea Mazzarone, Jenna, new member. Bridget Price. Melissa Ridner, new member. Tawny Lee, and welcome to all the new members. Cindy Leon, and then I Snapped is a new member. Cindy Leon again. Plato, Cheryl, Kathleen Canick, Wise Child, 8675309, Sirius Black, Matt is a Cut Snake, Kathy Chapin, Allie Cake, Wise Child, Lisa Valenzuela, and Bama Forever. Hold on a second. Everything's dark because I gotta. And thanks to all the people who called in tonight. That was really cool. It was awesome. Really interesting calls, and special thanks to Allie Cake for her courageous story there, telling us something that she hadn't told many people, and it's nice meeting the rest of you on the phone calls. It was fun talking to you guys. So, what are you talking about, Plato? The first call was placed in February. Not sure what you're even referring to. You're talking about the spec one again? Ah, Jesus. Well, you could, but you could have called in with the story, Nikki Zubs, right? Unless it's not related to that. Anyways, alright, thanks everybody. I don't know what that means, Plato. Nobody knows what that means. You gotta have a full sentence with it. Like, who called the first call in 911 was placed? Oh, you mean the very first call that 911 was ever made was February 1968. Okay, I get it. I thought you guys were talking about Richard Speck up above, and I thought you were saying, well, the first time somebody called 911 was February of... Yeah. I wonder who that first call was. That'd be interesting, right? It's probably some stupid thing. They didn't give me the right cheeseburger at McDonald's. Ma'am, that isn't a reason to call 911. But I said cheese, and they didn't put cheese. They just put mustard, and it looked like cheese. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I might come back on. Maybe I'll do like 10 o'clock or something. Like that hour and something from now. See what happens. Just to go over that case. And so be on the lookout. Be on the lookout. Alright, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for being here. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there. And thanks to everybody who called in. That was very, very cool. I liked all those calls. Even you, Charles. Even you. And trolls.
Yeah, I've been doing this true crime stuff for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is a crime dissector.
A thug rejector.
I'm a certified human lie detector.
I'm gonna get ya and a stretcher.
If you try and play me like an old projector, crime sector is my nectar. Professor Greg is gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a pup protector, fool deflector, interceptor, and I'm meaner than a specter with a vector on his pector. With all respect, y'all, just remember I've a temper fucking changer. I have no agenda, I'm no pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to it. Bye, everybody. Talk to you.
There's mosquitoes the size of bald eagles in that dadgum swamp.